All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. We are here today, 8:48 a.m., November 18th, Monday morning. Good morning, everyone. So, for those that were here on the Sunday show last night, you guys saw that I was standing the whole time because I was trying to do something new, right? Because we got to switch things up and we have to, sometimes stand instead of sit. And I thought it was a good idea, and I felt great for the first 90 minutes. No one in the chat told me when I would wake up this morning, standing for 90 minutes would not make my back feel good. And I woke up this morning and I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was not a good feeling. So we're back to sitting down. And I think that sitting down is probably the way to go because standing up for 90 minutes did not feel the best. I think the point of a standing desk is to stand up in sprints, but not stand up for for a long time, because I woke up and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to stand up for another 90 minutes, bro. That's not feeling the best. I probably need to get a pad and different things to make things work right. But dude, 90 minutes, I woke up this morning. I'm like, yeah, my back usually doesn't hurt that much ever. I had some back issues back in 2021, but this time it was just bad. So 1 hour standing, 1 hour sitting, that repeat. Yeah, that's probably a lot better. You need to condition yourself. Correct. I need to condition myself. I need to get a floor mat. Dude, my feet were hurting last night too. I felt like a gangster after I stood for 90 minutes. I was like, all right, this is great. I love it. And then I woke up and I was like, this is not the way. So we're going to sit down for the foreseeable future. We'll probably do a mix of standing up and sitting down in the future. But for now, yeah, probably got to sit down. This is what would probably be the best. I think the best thing about the standing desk is when I'm actually working off the stream, I can stand up and type and do all my stuff. But when I'm talking and moving around and standing for long periods of times, that's probably not the best idea. Nonetheless, we're here. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We got a lot to talk about today. So we are, it's Monday, November 18th. First of all, happy birthday to my sister. It is her 31st birthday today. So if she watches this, she never watches the videos, but she always asks if I talk about her. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I say embarrassing things about you all the time. But happy birthday to her. Love my sister. One of the best siblings. One of my only siblings. One of the best siblings ever. I have a great relationship with her. So happy she is older and getting healthy. On top of that, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Palantir is at all-time highs. Will Palantir be able to continue the momentum we're going to be seeing today if this stock can keep doing what it is doing right here? And the pre-markets were down a little bit, down about 0.35%. So we will see what happens when we open up. Last night, we were at $68 in the overnight markets. If that is any indication of the demand for Palantir, as the market opens, maybe we will see some more momentum. Robinhood got upgraded 2 times this morning, one to $40, one to $36. We'll be talking about the price target upgrades on Robinhood and why Piper Sandler and Needham upgraded Robinhood this morning. We also have Tesla that is up 5% in the pre-markets. Why is Tesla up? Because there's some new reports coming out, actually 6.3% on Tesla, 340 right now, that Trump is going to reduce regulations for autonomous vehicles, and the Secretary of Transportation is going to be on Robinhood's side when it comes to decreasing not Robinhood's side, on Tesla's side when it comes to decreasing regulations for autonomous vehicles. That's not only bullish for Tesla, but that's definitely very bullish for Tesla. It will help other people like Google with Waymo, but it definitely will help Tesla. So that's something we're going to talk about. And then Nvidia is just not having the best day right now. Nvidia back in the 130s. Why? Because there's a report, Nvidia down 2.35%, that their servers are overheating, and that a lot of the overheating in the servers is upsetting customers, which is causing a delay in their upgrades to Blackwell, which theoretically could dampen Q4 guidance expectations that the street has, which is why Nvidia is down right now in the pre-market. So a lot to talk about, a lot to go into. If you look at the Max 7 real quick, Apple's up a little bit, Microsoft's up a little bit, Meta's down, Google's up about 0.65%, Amazon up 0.5%, Nvidia down 2.3%, and then Tesla alone up 6.2% on the day. So we'll be discussing that. On top of that, the big headline of the morning, if we tune into Bitcoin, which is currently at 89,849, is that our good friend Michael Saylor bought some more Bitcoin. So we'll be talking about that and going deeper into how much Bitcoin he bought and what that means for the overall crypto market. All right, let's get into it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Here's the new little set. Again, we got the standing desk. It's not perfect right now with the background and everything, but we also have a new computer right here. Got the iPad here, the MacBook here. So I just got a lot of screens I'm working with. I feel much more open. I can move stuff around. So excited to get into the show and do what we got to do. Martin, Richard, Steve, KM, Blake, Nate, thank you everybody for being here. Endless Awareness, Iceman, Bison, Gene, Jeremiah, what's up, Amato Music, Robert, June, Jimmy, thank you all for being here. Lena, good morning. I'm Beneficial. I'm Beneficial. I don't know if you saw yesterday's stream, but I was talking really positively about your boy Google. So we're going to talk more about Google, but I'm looking at the financials and Google's starting to look a lot more exciting. So thank you everybody for being here, and let's get started into the show. How about a show from a Miracle Whip? One day we will live stream from the Miracle Whip. We will definitely do that. Okay, so let's get started with Michael Saylor. He has bought more Bitcoin. I saw this morning, and it wasn't surprising, but it also at some point was like, holy crap, dude, this guy does not care. Michael Saylor has bought 51,000 Bitcoin for approximately 88,000 a coin for about 4.6 billion. Last week, they bought 27,200 Bitcoin at an average of 74,000 a coin. So they are averaging up in the world of BTC. And they now hold 331,000 Bitcoin at an average of $49,800 for $49,827. It's pretty incredible. It's pretty damn incredible. And I think that's why we're seeing some of the momentum in the broader Bitcoin ecosystem. I mean, this was probably done over the weekend, and that's why Bitcoin kind of maintained its momentum here at 89,756. It was at 90,000, 90.8 on Saturday. So the fact that it's holding in this 90,000 level, even though the NASDAQ and the S&P fell last week and Bitcoin kind of trades with the NASDAQ, is showing that there's a lot of excitement for Bitcoin. On top of that, this also has to deal with the Robinhood upgrade. So we got a $36 upgrade from Piper Sandler and a $40 upgrade from Needham. Here's what they said. Needham says, we are upgrading Robinhood to a buy as Donald Trump's election wins to stand materially to benefit the company, primarily via changes at the SEC. Our $40 price target is predicated on 10.5x 2025 enterprise value over sales. First, we believe more crypto asset listings are coming. Hood has historically limited its product suite to avoid SEC enforcement actions, but with a change in chair, we believe Hood will launch new offerings, including the 4 new assets last week. We expect a retail-driven bull market to be in Hood's favor as the company has been successful in launching meme-related trading products, which appeal to retail customers, aka the election markets. And third, Hood's equity and margin business segments act to dampen crypto revenue volatility and position Hood as a one-stop shop for financial services as retail customers come back into the market. So if crypto has a bad quarter, margin should be able to kind of offset that, which is obviously really good for Robinhood. Piper Sandler says, revisiting Bitcoin halving cycles and what it means for Hood. Crypto price cycles have historically centered around Bitcoin halving events, which occur approximately every 4 years. The prices of Bitcoin and other tokens have historically rallied in the 12 to 18 months before and after those events. We currently find ourselves 6 months out from the most recent halving event, meaning we could see prices continue to rise for another 6 to 12 months. Bottom line, for as long as the crypto bull market continues, we expect Hood to see strong retail engagement and transaction volumes. We believe Hood is a very good way to play crypto this bull market, as it has significant runway to scale its crypto operations alongside an already established cash equity and options brokerage business. This is kind of what the Dumb Money guys said yesterday on the Sunday show. I played the clip of them talking about how Robinhood is their favorite way to play crypto. So now we have 2 analysts on the street, Needham and JMP Securities, with a $40 price target. We got Piper Sandler upgrading us to 36, and we have all these other firms that are in like the 27, 28, 29 range. I think they're probably coming up to 34, 35 pretty soon. So we are going to get a flurry of upgrades across Robinhood. And if November continues to be as strong as October was, then the Q4 results will indicate that their momentum is pretty strong. Palantir right here is 64.97. We'll talk about Palantir in just a second. Robinhood up about 1% in the pre-markets. Let's look at some of the other crypto plays that we got going on right now. Bitfarms is down. Oh, Marathon. You know, this is why for the past 10 months, I've just said I don't like the miners. Marathon just did a $700 million convertible debt offering. So that means they are diluting shareholders by $700 million. Now, why are they diluting shareholders by $700 million? Well, they're going to buy more Bitcoin. But like the problem is that their business model relies on Bitcoin going up in order to show that they are more profitable for the Bitcoin that they mine. And there's not that many Bitcoin that are mined now that there's only 450 per day. So it's down 7%, even though Bitcoin is up a lot since Trump got elected. The Bitcoin mining ETF is down 1.5% as well. And it's just one of those things that's annoying. Riot's down 3%, CleanSpark's down 4%, Cypher's down 1%. I mean, it's just one of those things. If you're gonna bet on the Bitcoin miners, you got to be ready for that dilution, and hopefully it helps. You know, one thing Mara said last week, Marathon Holdings, is that they're not just a Bitcoin company, they're an energy company. So they're trying to like pivot away just from Bitcoin to like broader energy mining, which is fine. But like the market right now cares a lot about crypto and if you're a good way to play crypto. And as of now, with this convertible offering, I guess a lot of people are just upset about it, which is why the stock's down 7% right here. So long term should be fine for Marathon Holdings. Right now, not the best in the short term. And one of the things we have to remember when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto mining in and of itself. So that's what we got in the context of Bitcoin. As Samir says, Mara is short-term pain, long-term gain. Let's talk about Palantir. Let's talk about Palantir. So last night on the Sunday show, I was saying this, and ultimately my feelings have not changed. I think there's a lot of people currently that are upset about Palantir doing well. And why are they upset? Well, I think a lot of them missed it. But in fairness to them, I think a lot of them feel this is an incredibly expensive, overvalued stock. And as a result, they are, trying to point that out to everybody. The funny thing about this, though, and what I'm saying will make sense in a second. For those that haven't seen this tweet, there's a lot of tweets that have gone viral over the weekend for Palantir, but one of them got like a couple million views. And the premise of the tweet is that, this is the biggest bubble that we've ever seen. The funny thing is, at the end of the day, I don't think anyone can predict or not predict a bubble. So you see 1.5 million views, market cap 147, earnings of 476 million. This is one of the worst bubbles I have ever seen. The reason it got these many views is because a lot of people engaged with it, because a lot of people also resonate with that same feeling. Look, here's my thoughts. Again, my thoughts are very simple on this. At the end of the day, the market has likely decided that they missed out on this story. And because they missed out on this story, they are getting some FOMO. And that's why we're seeing people buy at this range. I wouldn't be buying at this range. I know a lot of people wouldn't be buying at this range, but institutions that really don't give a shit and have a lot of money, they want to be part of the story. Now, institutions are just humans at the end of the day. So the traditional FOMO that would exist in retail obviously does exist in institutions. The question is that institutional FOMO real, or is that going to collapse? You can see right here, this is the institutional holdings of Palantir. That's a massive jump going into the latter half of the year, up to about 1.25 billion shares. That's about 53% of the overall shares outstanding. And the toots are buying. So, I think a lot of the people that are calling it a bubble and calling it the most overvalued thing in the world, I'm not saying it's not expensive. I'm just saying that at some level, we all know things can be expensive for a long time. Now, that doesn't mean I think a lot of us wouldn't be surprised if we see a 20 to 30% drawdown, get back into the 40s. I think most of us would expect that to probably happen if in general, people just stop buying and the institutions take a little bit of a break. But I don't think that's guaranteed to happen. And so today's going to be a really interesting one because we closed at $66.46 on Friday at 8 p.m. We kind of within 30 seconds got to that 66 range where we thought we would close over 65. We got to 66. Right now, down about 1%. The demand for this stock is unlike something I've ever seen before. And my personal opinion on this is that if you're long, you hold. If you want to take some profits, you take some profits. But at the end of the day, I don't know if this thing has to go back to $30. I don't know if it is so egregiously overvalued that it goes back to 30. Is it expensive? Yeah. Does it have to go back to 30? No. Could it go to 70? Yes. And because no one knows the answer to that, but everyone wants to pontificate on how much of a bubble it is, ultimately it's going to play out. But I think a lot of the people that are upset that Palantir is going up, either A, they missed it, or B, they sold too early. And it's it is what it is, right? But trying to just claim it's a bubble and spend all your time and energy doing that, it's quite literally the definition of hating, dude. It's why do you care so much? Either you didn't invest in it or you sold too early, right? Or you're just doing it for attention, which is another thing. I mean, people could be doing it for clicks and views and trying to, get that aspect of it. But that's my perspective on it. I can't justify the valuation from a numerical perspective. I can't justify it from a qualitative perspective. Qualitatively might not be the best justification, but my advice has always been to sit back and enjoy the ride. And it's not that hard of a situation to be in if you're long-term. Swift says, own it, don't trade it. Yeah, it's one of those things, dude, where Nvidia has gone through multiple drawdowns. Tesla's gone through multiple drawdowns. Same has in Amazon. I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks, but as a Palantir community, we have not experienced multiple drawdowns. We experienced 2022, which sucked, but the whole market sucked. So it wasn't just Palantir. Independently, Palantir going down 30, 40, 50, 60%, while the whole market remained stable, like Tesla shareholders had to deal with for the majority of this year until Trump got elected. We have not dealt with that yet. And maybe because Palantir is a young company, it's only been 5 years. And so we haven't really dealt with the ups and downs and ups and downs. This is the first time Palantir's gone on a run. And it does kind of feel like nothing's stopping it because we've never seen the downtrend from a run outside of 2022, which again was the whole market. Either we're going to experience that and go through that together as a community, and it's going to be one of the chapters of this overall journey, or we're not experiencing that anytime soon. given that we now got inclusion into the NASDAQ 100 exchange, which eventually hopefully gets us into the QQQs, which maybe is this year, maybe is next year, that is another tailwind for the company along with the reaccelerating revenue growth. So I don't think it has to go down 50, 40%. Could it go down? Yeah. But could it continue going up? Correct. And if it takes a little bit of a correction, I think there's dip buyers there. So either this is going to be a dramatic decline or this is going to be a decline that is relatively simple. But we are going to have to kind of eventually see how the market ultimately interprets Palantir. Thomas says there's got to be some percentage of people pointing it out, trying to protect new investors that don't understand valuations. Yeah, I think that's also fair. And I hope I've done a decent job of that on the show. I mean, I've been saying, look, from a valuation perspective, if you actually care about metrics, obviously buying Palantir right here, your risk to reward, given the valuation, given all the future growth that's being priced in. We had a great episode about this on Palantir Weekly. If you haven't watched that, we talked a lot about what the market's pricing in terms of growth. And at an optimistic level, they're pricing in 35% growth for the next 10 years. If you're a little bit more conservative with your assumptions and your discount rates, they're assuming close to 40% or 45% over the next 10 years. And so that's just hard to do, right? It's not impossible, but it's hard. And so if you're buying it right here, you have to understand that. Now, granted, if you're buying it because you don't give a shit about valuation and you don't think the market cares either, then it's whatever, right? Then it's like, then it's just pure momentum based on the stock, which is also one way to trade. But if it's pure valuation over the long term, obviously right here at 150 billion is a little bit expensive to pay. But that's what we got in the context of Palantir. We also do have one news update on Palantir. Do you guys remember Coles in Australia? They started working with Palantir back in February. That was the deal we got. This is an article. I'll probably go more in depth on this later today, but this is in my favorite place, Australia. Coles Group is making big strides with its advanced analytics. And if you go through the article, they discuss what they're doing here with Palantir. So as you can see right here, the Palantir project, not much was said about the retailer's planned use of Palantir at the time, except that it would aid executive oversight and have a focus on workforce management. In the first phase of activity, Coles is using Palantir to bring together a complex time and motion system, a team member rostering capability system. This would position Palantir as a system driving efficiency of process engagement, team and capacity, and customer outcomes. So I'll put this article in the chat, but essentially the article is making the case that Palantir is one of the ways that Coles is using data analytics to essentially become more effective. This was a 3-year deal we got with one of the largest retailers for 850 stores in Australia. And I think the more testimonials we see from companies like that, the more it gives credence to what Palantir ultimately is doing at the end of the day with some of these other companies. I've started doing DD on BP and they mentioned Palantir so much. Yeah, even on BP's earnings, they mentioned Palantir a lot. And it makes sense. They signed a 5-year deal with them, extended their contract. We don't know how much that's worth, but BP has been working with them for the past 15 years. So I would imagine BP, starts to really publicize the work they're doing with Palantir. Also, it's good for them because it makes them look like a data-driven organization that is looking into the future. And so there's a benefit for Palantir and their clients to say that they're actually achieving results working with them together. SMCI. Okay, let's look at SMCI right now. So that's the take on Palantir. We'll revisit that as the market opens and kind of see the momentum and if it can hold. But overall, no big news updates on Palantir. We are at all-time highs. And so now we kind of have to see how momentum plays out for the stock. SMCI is up 10% right now in the pre-markets. SMCI did file that they would be extending or they would be submitting their 10K soon on Friday after hours. That's why the stock was up like 20% after hours on Friday, up 10.3% right now. Again, I still wouldn't touch it. I don't know why it's that exciting for people to get into this outside of bottom feeding. There was a report as well. Let me see if I can pull that up. Of XAI diverting all of their server spend to Dell over SMCI. And that was actually interesting. Yeah, right here. Well, it's still a rumor, but here's the article right here. That was interesting to me because, you hear about competition, you hear about capitalism being ruthless, and one issue with a company can completely remove their entire business from another client. So right here, Elon's startup XAI has transferred $6 billion in AI server orders to Dell from Supermicro, noting Dell's Taiwan partners, Vistron and Advantech, stand to benefit from the orders. Again, rumor, not confirmed. But if that's the case, SMCI just lost a lot of business, probably because Elon's like, dude, I'm not going to mess around with some company that can't file their reports, right? And so Dell stock currently is up 2.3%. And it looks like the market thinks that they're going to get some more orders from this. So that's one of the things that we have to think about when it comes to SMCI and their future earnings. If they just missed out on $6 billion of business, that's obviously not going to be good for the for the next Q4 earnings that they come out with. Semis right here are all down. Some of them are up. So you got Intel up a little bit, SMCI up, AMD is up, Nvidia is down, ARM is down, Lam Research is up, Dell is up, Micron is up slightly, Qualcomm's up a little bit, Broadcom's up. Again, all the semis got hit over the past 2 weeks. They have not participated in the Trump pump. So it might take some more time, for the market to ultimately believe that the semis are a catalyst going into 2025, or there are catalysts for the semis. Nvidia earnings has to top it off, and I think that's what the market is the most afraid about right now. Even though the market probably knows that Nvidia is going to crush it, it's always a bit scary for Nvidia to actually, report their earnings. And so I think that's the next thing, or the next catalyst that the market is waiting on. Are you buying Nvidia into earnings? No, I am not buying. Put in the chat if you're buying Nvidia right here, 138, 140 into earnings. I personally am not. But I do think Nvidia is going to crush earnings. I just don't know if the street's going to. I mean, again, Nvidia is at an all-time high, right? So for them to go higher than an all-time high, they got to crush earnings. And I think they will, but they got to really crush for the street to get excited about them. But look, they're up at 150 all-time highs. It's hard to deny that. Most price targets are closer to 170, 180. So as long as they beat by probably $1 billion in revenue, which is like 34, 34.5, then I think they're good. If not, we could see a 10% decline just like we saw last time. Just because you can't come within expectations at this point. Now the market is pricing in way too much, and that means they've got to beat. And look, Jensen's been saying Blackwell is off the charts in terms of demand. So if Jensen's been saying that, Rocket Lab up 2% in the pre-markets, then I expect the numbers to kind of show that. And I think the whole street does, which is why Nvidia should do well. Spirit Airlines filed for bankruptcy. Yes, Spirit Airlines did file for bankruptcy. So let's see their stock right now. Rocket Lab up 2%. Again, we saw SpaceX raise at that $250 billion valuation last week. That's probably getting the street excited about derivative plays like Rocket Lab. Spirit Airlines is suspended, so it cannot be traded anymore. So anyone who sold last week down 60%, you got the last bit of crumbs that you could from Spirit Airlines. Again, JetBlue wanted to buy them out. A lot of airlines actually were thinking of buying out Spirit, but the FTC and the DOJ did not allow that to happen, and now Spirit Airlines is completely bankrupt. So I took a Spirit flight, I think twice in my life. Once to Texas, and then another time I think to California. Maybe not California, maybe it's like Georgia. It wasn't the best experience. It was pretty cheap, but it wasn't the best experience. So I mean, look, it wasn't the best airlines, but that is a lot of jobs that are going away simply because of being bankrupt. And now I guess their assets will be sold in bankruptcy to other buyers. So that's what we got on Spirit. Let's talk about Tesla. Let's get into Tesla. So Tesla got a nice little treat last night because DJT has started to appoint people that in the Department of Transportation that are basically saying, hey, we're going to ease regulations for autonomous vehicles in the US. This report came out by Bloomberg yesterday, multiple sources saying that the people that are being appointed to the heads of the department, not exactly the secretary of the department, but there's other different like subsidiary people that are like kind of C-suite executives that are very important and that make decisions. They are going to be easing a lot of regulations for autonomous vehicles. And obviously, this was the goal of what Elon's been planning for a long time. Elon has not cared about the $7,500 tax credit. Elon has not cared about vehicle deliveries going down. Elon cares about autonomy. That's where he thinks this becomes a $10 to $20 trillion company. And the way to get autonomy is to play some 4D chess. And Elon is playing the best 4D chess of his life. As Marco says, this is the whole reason Elon is pro-Trump. I mean, look, if you're a Tesla shareholder, you've got to give it up to the poker move. Essentially, getting this guy to be elected, doing everything you have to do to get him to be elected. Whether you agree with the politics or not is, another thing. But he has, you could argue, a best friend in the White House. Biden wouldn't even invite him to the EV summit. And one could argue that the butterfly effect of Biden not inviting Elon to that EV summit and just giving him some praise, as you should, as an entrepreneur that's building some of the most amazing companies in the United States, to not give him that praise, that pissed him off really badly. And humans are emotional. A lot of times, if humans are emotional, they will end up acting in emotional ways. And that maybe pissed off Elon so much to realize that he will never have a friend in the White House unless he personally campaigns for one. And that's what happened with DJT. So I'm curious to see what these regulations look like. If you have a new regulatory framework where autonomous vehicles are given precedence over internal combustion engines in terms of regular driver vehicles, just like, so here's an example. If this new Department of Transportation sets up a subsidiary that is only focused on doing research on the effects of driver-led cars and driverless cars. And they're able to conclude via the data that driverless cars are like 10 times safer, for example. And they're able to put out that research to the American public, and they're able to use that research to then guide their policy decision-making, which currently I don't think is necessarily happening in the way that Elon would want it to happen. I think we're going to get some regulations easily come in favor of self-driving cars, which not only benefits Tesla, it benefits the other players. But if Tesla's the winner with the best technology, it obviously will help Tesla a lot. And that's what it looks like Elon is going to get from this relationship. We got Tom Lee on CNBC. Let's see what he's saying about the broader markets. Here we go.
Tom Lee, head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisors, as well as a CNBC contributor. We can get to Bitcoin in a second. I want to talk just about the overall markets, Tom. And you think leading into Thanksgiving that slow sort of bleed, that with slow bleed last week in the markets, you expect that not to be lasting, and multiple factors make you feel good about the next couple of weeks. And one of them, which plays into what we've been talking about all morning, and is the Treasury Secretary announcement will remove some uncertainty. You're following Polymarket to see who's in what. Bessent was at 70, but then Musk said, tweeted about Lutnick, and his chances went up. What is it now?
They've both fallen to sub 40%. So it, part of it is Kevin Warsh has moved up and Mark Rowan has moved up.
We're using Polymarket to decide who's going to be the Treasury Secretary.
Stranger things have happened, right?
So you think we hear this week? And that'll remove uncertainty, or that's not the most important thing?
Well, I think as we remove uncertainty, so it may not be announced in the next week or so, I think that's like what I'd consider a clearing event. It takes away some uncertainty, and the Trump trade, I think, is still intact.
The Fed might not cut as quickly as possible, but you still said we're in a good place, dovish-wise.
That's right. Last week, markets were a little taken by surprise when Fed Chair Powell said he might, slow things down for December. But if you look at December 2025, a year from now, the number of implied cuts is still the same. So I think he's dovish. He's just moving some of the timing.
Another clearing event, Nvidia. You expect it to be a bullish clearing event?
I mean, most likely. I think markets get very hesitant in front of Nvidia's earnings.
Really?
And once that's behind us, we'll see demand is strong, and I think market breathes a sigh of relief.
And then we did get a little bit maybe bullish or over our skis, so we pulled back to a support level where you feel more comfortable.
That's right. I think most of the major indices have pulled back to what would be technically viewed by our technician Mark Newton as support. So the NASDAQ is on the support line. S&P did a 60% retrace of its recent rally, and small caps have held above their prior highs. These are all bullish support levels.
I was wondering whether things were getting overdone when the journal says a melt-up could be in the cards. And the Trump trade has already been going for a while. You think it's just getting started at this point? There's a lot probably for the markets to like, I guess, in terms of, he likes easy money. He likes low regulation. He likes lower taxes. There's a lot. It's more than a 2-week rally, maybe, in your view.
That's right. And I think maybe markets are course correcting because now with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, there may be cuts to healthcare and industrials because of defense spending. So things that investors can focus on more deregulation of animal spirits, more like small caps and financials.
All right.
What about healthcare? You mentioned that in particular. It's not just DOGE that's going to be looking for more ways of efficiency. It's also changes afoot with RFK Jr. We're going to speak with Mark Bertolini about that in a minute. But how does the market kind of weigh that out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough period for visibility for healthcare because, even recent comments about how much healthcare spending dominates advertising when you're not in the political cycle. And you're right, there's concerns about safety of certain vaccines and RFK being in charge of HHS. So I would just say there's clouds. There's still going to be opportunities probably in biotechs, but it's going to be challenging.
Okay, so Tom Lee basically saying, look, at the end of the day, market still seems bullish. We were reading his report last night from the Fundstrat newsletter, and essentially he said, look, we could see some more volatility in the NASDAQ and the S&P because things don't always go up. but they are on their support lines. Remember, last week on Friday, it was a little bit of a nasty Friday, not for Palantir, but for everything else. So the S&P was down about 1.5%. Now it's up a little bit in the pre-markets, 586. That's not 6,000. We were at 6,000 last week. And then you had the Qs that also fell 2.5%. I think it was a much needed pullback. It was healthy. Now the Qs are up 0.5% in the pre-markets. I mean, think about that, dude. The Qs were down 2.38% last week on Friday. Now they're up 0.5%, recovering not everything that they lost, but like a decent amount of it. And the question is, why are people coming back in? Well, people don't want to miss out on this market. Like, still, no matter how many people are saying the market's overvalued, it's the most expensive market ever, which it is by a fact. It is very expensive. Maybe not the most expensive ever, but it is one of the most expensive markets. People are still buying. And I think either that's a function of euphoria or that's a function of people knowing that earnings growth, which we have kept up with all of Q3, earnings season is pretty much done. Nvidia is going to cap it off on Wednesday. Earnings growth has been amazing. I mean, there have been I don't know the exact numbers, but from the last reading I had a week ago, 70% of companies beat on the top and the bottom line. The companies that didn't beat, they're only missing on revenue, not EPS, which means they're becoming more operationally efficient. And then you have some companies that have a double miss. You know, those companies are out there, but those companies are not the most important companies in the world. So, for example, Marathon Holdings had a double miss. They're a Bitcoin miner. That's not as significant as like Google having a double miss. Google didn't have a double miss. Google had a double beat, and they had, $88 billion of revenue. So these are companies that are not slowing down. And I think the market knows if they're not slowing down and there's no macro level event like a recession to slow them down, then any dip is a buy. And that doesn't mean some stocks aren't super expensive here, but that does mean the broader market still is exciting for a lot of people. A couple of charts here that are also important. So this is from Goldman Sachs. When global equities have been at a high valuation, currently around 18x earnings, the next 12-month returns are generally only good if earnings revisions are positive. So as you can see right here, when stocks are trading at a high valuation, 18x would classify as high, you get an increase over the next 12 months if companies are actually able to revise their earnings to the upside. And the problem is when companies are up so much. So for example, if we just look at Nvidia, their comps next year are going to be really hard, right? Because, they grew 282% in Q1 of 2024. Are they going to be able to grow 282%? No. But can they grow like 60%? Yes. But even growing 60% is going to be hard after putting up the numbers that they put up. So the comps are going to get harder. If they can revise their earnings, that's how stocks tend to go even higher from the current high valuations. But if they can't revise those earnings, they tend to take a little bit of a dip. And so I think what's going to be really important going into Q1 2025 is, can companies put up the earnings growth that justifies, even with higher comps, being able to beat back the levels that they saw in Q1 of 2024. Here's another chart that I thought was really interesting. Chinese equity funds have seen an all-time withdrawal over the past 5 weeks of $21 billion, which is insanity. $21 billion have decided to leave China after David Tepper said to buy everything. Basically, people betting on the fact that, hey, we don't think the stimulus is going to work. Now, we saw a lot of big tech last week, not big tech, big hedge fund managers buy up China, but we are seeing a lot of other institutional money managers say, you know what, we are just not going to spend our time with China. Okay, June says CarMax is filing for bankruptcy. Is that correct? Is CarMax actually filing for bankruptcy? That came out of nowhere. I thought CarMax was actually doing well. CarMax, I don't see the bankruptcy headline, June. Let me check on Twitter. It's not on Google. I don't see them filing for that. Yeah, I think they are. That's not really big news. No one's talking about it, but I see a couple of tweets saying that they're filing for Chapter 11. Well, where's the stock right here? CarMax. The stock is not even, I guess on Webull, it's showing me the wrong thing, but CarMax is not down. Let me check Robinhood. Yeah, look at CarMax, not down. That's interesting because we know that the used car market is exploding. So that means CarMax themselves had some issues internally if they are currently going bankrupt. Let me take a look at Robinhood real quick on CarMax. Robinhood, CarMax. Maybe it's not updating it right now. CarMax. Yeah, it's not down 40% on any of these brokerages. So I'll check, and maybe on some other brokerages it's down 40%. But as of now, that news looks like it's not priced in too much. Bart, thank you for the 120 euro super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Hi, Amit. I will sell 1,000 shares of Palantir today. Bought them at 23.60. So thanks a lot for your channel, Bart from Belgium. Bart, thank you for that. Congratulations on the gains. You deserve the profits. Up about 2x, a little bit more than 2x on those shares if you bought them at 23.60. Congratulations to you. Thank you for the super chat. It really means a lot. And congrats on the gains. Enjoy the profits. There you go. Okay. June says, according to Schwab. Interesting. Yeah, I don't see it on Webull yet, but I guess it might be updating soon as well. But see, what Bart's saying right there in that super chat is also what I'm saying about retail taking profits, right? Like, it's so funny, dude. All these people on Twitter that are like in the investing world and they're like trying to make fun of Palantir, acting like it's a meme stock, all this stuff. They're acting like retail hasn't like been through this at $6 and, you know, gone through this entire journey. And, you know, maybe they've never been through a journey that's so special, being with the community and all that stuff, and they're kind of sad about it. I get it. But like, they're acting like that journey is similar to the GameStop journey of watching a guy like Roaring Kitty pump up the stock and like that, and which was the only reason GameStop went up. Like, they're comparing Palantir defending Ukraine and having the most innovative technology in the world, hosting 5 AIP cons, to the GameStop story because of the valuation of Palantir, which I get, valuation is up there, but comparing the community to like GameStop and AMC is just ridiculous, right? And what a lot of GameStop and AMC people did not do is take profits, which is what Bart is doing right here. A lot of them felt that it was going to the moon, and it did go to the moon, and they still didn't take profits. I think a lot of people in the Palantir community are simply people that are a bit more rational about valuation. And I don't know if that's all of his shares, but if that's a part of his shares at those 1,000, then that's just like reasonable trimming of shares, which is not horrible. So I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. John says, when would you consider taking profits on Palantir? So again, my answer to this is the same answer that I've given for the past couple of years. It is about your time horizon. If you really want to have a long-term time horizon on Palantir, then I think taking profits right now is just trying to time it, which you can do. It's just hard, right? And maybe it's an obvious way to time it. Maybe you're like, yo, dude, Palantir is so expensive right now. Obviously, it's going to come back down. I should take some profits. I'll get back in later. That's fine. That's an individual choice you have to make. The valuation's up there right now, 100%. So I can't blame anyone for that. Like, if someone was selling at 20 and they bought it like 8 or 7, I would get it, but I would still be like, dude, it's still such a young cup. Like $20, I feel like is not the time to sell. At 60, I get it. I get it if people want to take profits. It makes sense. I just think if you're in this for the long term and you're ready to go with the ups and downs of it, and you're ready to DCA and you really just don't want to touch it or look at it, and you don't need the money, that's a big thing. If you don't want to reallocate the money somewhere else, then you let the compounding machine of the stock market do its thing. But quite frankly, I don't care if someone sells. Like, I had someone message me over Twitter over the weekend. They're like, Amit, I know you'll feel bad about me, but I sold. I'm like, I don't feel bad. It's your money. Like, do what you want to do. Rocket Lab up 4%, by the way. Like, if you want to take profits, take some freaking profits. Like, that you deserve to take profits in the stock market. There's nothing bad about it. It's just a question of your time horizon, right? And if you have a long-term time horizon, I don't think you have to take profits. If you want to just fear up some capital and get back in later, then that's totally fine. So in terms of answering the question straight up, when would you take profits? Yeah, at $65 at $150 billion market cap with Carp freaking selling, 10 million shares last week. Obviously, right now wouldn't be the worst time to take profits. Also, because if you're nervous about Carp selling, a lot of people over the weekend, were like, oh my God, Carp is selling so much. It's like, okay, Carp is selling, but it's not like the stock's down 40% from where he sold. If you feel so, scared about him selling, nervous, uncomfortable, whatever that feeling is, and that feeling is totally justified if you're feeling it, take some profits with him. It's not a big deal. Take some profits with him. If you don't give a shit that Carp's selling because every insider is selling right now, then it's like, okay, you hold on for the long term and you don't really have to worry, because in 10 years, I think Carp selling 5 million shares today is not going to be something that is going to look at if Palantir is growing revenues at 30%. It's just not going to matter that much, right? And so that's one of the things that we ultimately have to think about. Rob, thank you for the $200 super chat. You guys do not have to send this much money. Thank you for that. Amit started watching your channel last year on Palantir and decided to go all in now. I'm a millionaire because of you and will continue to buy for the next 5 years. That's awesome. Rob, I imagine you made a pretty big bet on Palantir if you went in last year. I love it. Those are the comments that make me the most happiest. Again, like anyone who used the content as helping their conviction, it means the world to me. And dude, it's been a fun journey. And as I've said, there's a lot of retail investors that have become literal millionaires because of Palantir. We had someone in the chat the other day bought like 20,000 shares at $8, still holding on to it. Like, that's just a big deal, right? As being part of the community. So Rob, thank you for the $200 super chat. It really means a lot. And congratulations. Palantir making millionaires is pretty damn incredible. More Gavin, thank you for the $60 euro super chat. Selling 30,000 shares in Palantir today, up 3x. Thanks, Amit, for all your amazing content. There you go. People are taking profits. People are taking profits, and that is okay. That is absolutely okay. And again, I think this is what is different from us and the GameStop AMC community. Those guys would feel like you're a trader or some shit. For me, I'm like, dude, the stock's up a lot. Yeah, the valuation, you can't really support it through the numbers. If you want to take profits, you take the profits. And it is what it is. So more, thank you for the super chat and congrats. 30,000 shares, up 3x. That is a lot of money. That is good money that you deserve to make. And it's money that you worked your ass off to be able to get by investing. So congratulations. All right, there we go. So we got 2 minutes until the market opens. I think all eyes today have to be on Tesla and Palantir. Palantir, it's down right now in the pre-market's 1.3%. We'll see if it continues towards that downward momentum or if we get buyers continuing to step in at that 65, 66 range. Bitcoin at 90,000, and then Tesla. You guys are saying CarMax's website is down. It does look like they're filing for bankruptcy at that point if their website's down. Tesla right here up 7% off the Trump administration loosening regulations for autonomous vehicles. Not fully confirmed yet, but that is the rumor that is going on right now in the Department of Transportation, which is why the stock is moving on this news. And so we're going to see today how the stock reacts to that, along with Palantir. Problem with Palantir is you will battle the when to get back in. Yeah, I mean, look, that's also, if it drops back to like $30, then I think everyone can get back in. If it doesn't, if it's sitting in that 45, 50 range, maybe doesn't come back into the 30s, that's when, it's going to be tough to kind of figure out when to time it. So we'll have to see. Also, by the way, for the retail that's selling, Stanley Druckenmiller sold as well. We talked about it last week on the show. He sold 95% of his position. I don't know at what price, but he did sell. He had 796,000 shares or 769,000. He sold 728,000. So 94% of his stake is now gone as well. And none of the big guys, none of the hedge fund managers that we looked at last week, Howard Marks, David Tepper, Buffett, Ackman, any of these guys added to Palantir. Like, I actually did a search across all of the 13Fs and 13Gs from like celebrity hedge fund investors. None of them touched Palantir except Renaissance Technologies, but they've had Palantir for a long time. So it's been a while. Oh my God, where's my cowbell? Oh, there it is. Hold on. I had this new desk, so I got to get my cowbell. Hold on. Okay, there we go. We had to make sure we have the cowbell. All right, Monday, November 18th, 9:30 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Let's get into it. Tesla is up 5% on the day. Tesla right here got a little bit of a red candle, but Tesla is indeed up about 5.77%. So you got some moves on Tesla. Palantir, Robinhood, by the way, up 2.71%. Oh, wow. Robinhood, $33.29. Robinhood got upgraded to $40 and $36 today. That's why Robinhood is up right now by two different firms. SoFi is up about 0.73%. S&P 500 is up on the day. QQQ up 0.22%. Palantir down 2.8%. Got a nice red candle right there on Palantir. $63.72, down about 3% currently on the day. That's all the people in the chat who said they were selling. You guys, you guys are causing the red candles. There you go. Got a red candle right here on Palantir, down 3.6%. Now, what's going to be really interesting here is if they can actually recover this red candle, or this is legitimately people taking profits. It's a 4% red candle right now. What it looks like, 66 to 63, is a lot of people taking some profits. Look at that, down 4.5. You're getting a red candle right there. Again, all of us kind of expected it. All-time highs at 65. But the recovery from this, if it happens today, we'll take a look at it. That would be pretty incredible if there's enough liquidity to buy up all these shares that are being sold off right here, down about 4%. Nvidia down 1.6%. Bitcoin 90,000. The Qs up about 0.118. S&P slightly red. Rocket Lab up 4.7% on the day. Dell is up 3.3%. SMCI up 11%. Coinbase is down 2%. Pfizer's up a little bit. Eli Lilly's down 2%. Bristol Myers Squibb's up a little bit. Moderna's up a little bit. Verizon's up 0.5%. Domino's up 1%. Energy Transfer, we were talking about this last night. They are up 1%. KMI, Kinder Morgan is up 1%. Google is up 0.5% right now. Amazon up 0.5%. Affirm up 2.3%. Square up about 1% at $85. Nike's down 1.4%. We saw Bill Ackman buy about 12 million shares of Nike last week. Oklo is up 5.7%. The head of the energy department, Chris Wright, that Trump is nominating for the secretary of the energy department, is also on the board of directors of Oklo. So that is why Oklo is up 5% right now. The street is excited about that relationship. MicroStrategy up about 0.5%. Walgreens up about 1%. And you got Palantir now down about 4.755%. You do have a red candle right here on Palantir. That's what we got right now. Rocket Lab's at 20. Are we at 20 on Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab, again, we got to 22 last week. Rocket Lab, yeah, 2013. Look at that, up 6%. Up 6% for Rocket Lab. Not bad at all, 6.5%. Again, Rocket Lab had a wild week. It was up 50%, then it went down 10%. Kind of settled into that $18 range. But now right here at $20. And look, it makes sense at the end of the day. If you think SpaceX is worth $250 billion, Rocket Lab's market cap is $10 billion. I know they're not as big as SpaceX, but that TAM itself, I think, is getting the street pretty excited. Where's Hood? Where is Hood? Again, 2 upgrades today, $40 and $36 by Needham and Piper Sandler. JMP Securities also upgraded them to 40 last week. Robinhood, $33.65. There you go. Nice 4% day on Robinhood. Bitcoin's not even moving that much, so really this is more so of those upgrades that the street is excited about. Palantir now down 6%. There you go. There is a real red candle. We have not seen a real red candle on Palantir in probably 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks, right? It's been a while since we've seen that. So we got a red candle right there on Palantir. I'm sure people with covered calls are a little happy right now. They're getting a little bit of a little bit of relief. Wow, Robinhood 34. Look at that. Not bad. 34 on Robinhood, up 5%. That's great. And SoFi's moving as well. SoFi $13.94. SoFi trying to get to that $14 range. SoFi needs to get to 15 and stay there. And I think it has the momentum to get there. Just needs to break out of this $13.98 level. But we're getting there at 14 for SoFi. Uber's down because of the Tesla news. Uber is indeed down. Wow, look at that. Uber down 4% because of the Tesla news. That's hilarious. Tesla's up 5%. Uber is down 4%. I feel like these two stocks are going to be in a toxic relationship for the next decade. Every time Tesla makes moves towards autonomy, Uber's going to go down. And every time Tesla has like a hiccup, Uber's going to go up. It's going to be hilarious to see how they interact with each other. Hims. Yeah, let's take a look at Hims. Hims is finally green after that drop last week. Yeah, Hims again. Who bought the dip on Hims? Put in the chat if you bought the dip. Hims is up 4%. Again, it's a small cap going up against Amazon. $4 billion company going up against a $2 trillion company. It's probably going to be hard for them to compete. But if Amazon is not fully encroaching their territory, meaning Hims has some personalization moat that people have been talking about, then I think Hims will be okay. But Hims right here up 4% after going down 30% or actually 40% last week. So it definitely took a little bit of a hit. Tesla right there at 340. SMCI up 15%. Palantir down 5.6%. The dip is not being bought for Palantir yet. Not being bought for Palantir yet. Down about 5.6%. Enphase down another 1.7%. Goodness gracious. Enphase. Holy crap. Enphase is getting hit. Enphase is getting hit. Nate says there can be more than one winner. Let's not be silly. I don't disagree. I just think we got to get some more research on what Amazon is actually doing. Palantir now down about 6.3%. Palantir into the 61s. The only fear I have is that if Hims really doesn't have any moat, Robin at 34, and Amazon has just way more distribution, then can they actually begin to scale? And look, we're not going to see it until the numbers come out next quarter or over the next 2 quarters. It is going to be really important to kind of see what those growth metrics look like when it comes to Hims. Because if they start declining growth and Amazon starts showing, in their earnings call, some commentary on, hey, our telehealth services are growing at XYZ%, I think that a lot of the street's going to feel sad about it. The one disadvantage of owning this name is the volatility of the name tied to Amazon now. So like if you're buying the dip on it because you believe they're a real business, that's fine. But like the volatility with any update on Amazon we know the market's gonna tank Hims on that if the news is bad. So that's the one downside I think right now about it from this level. Why was Spotify not crushed? Because niche founders let companies win. I think Spotify's a little bit of a different situation in regards to, but I see your point, right? There can be multiple winners: Spotify, YouTube Music, etc. Well, let's see with growth. Now it comes down to growth for Hims over the next couple quarters and see what they say. Tesla right here at 341, Robin at 33.91, Uber is down 3.9%. Where's Spotify, by the way? Spotify had a great earnings last week. Spotify right here, 453, down about 1% on the day. Doug says I bought Hims before the dip. All right, so Doug, that means you bought it at like $30. So you got a little bit of a hit on Hims right here at 20. The thing is, Hims is growing 70%. If they can keep growing at those levels, then I don't think the market's going to give a shit about Amazon if they keep up the growth. If the growth slows down, they're going to attribute it to Amazon and competition. That's the problem. So Spotify, if you want to use that example, Spotify grows monthly active users every month, and Apple Music, YouTube Music, none of that's stopping them from growing at least 30 million users every quarter, or like 23 million users every quarter. Now they have over 640 million monthly active users. So as long as HIMS keeps up the growth, I think the market will reward them. Rocket Lab right here is up 3% right now as well, up about 4%. Archer's up a little bit. Tesla 343. That is not bad. HIMS projected 90% growth next quarter. Okay, so if they live up to that, I think at the end of the day, the market wants growth, and as long as they get that, they're not going to care too much about Amazon. Where's Shopify? Shopify also had a great earnings yesterday. Last week. Shopify 106, down about 1.76% right there on Shopify. Tesla 343. Tesla up 7% on the day. Tesla really getting a nice big green candle right there. 341. Where's Palantir? Wow, Palantir down almost 7%. Look at that. This is people taking profits, in my opinion. This is I like, honestly, what I think, I don't know for a fact, but I think the 7% down, this is people in the Palantir world. This is what I think it is. I think it's people that saw a lot of viral tweets this weekend on Reddit and Twitter, etc., of how overvalued Palantir is. And a lot of people just being like, you know what? I've been holding on for a long time. The world is saying it's overvalued. I think it's overvalued. I'm finally selling, which is fair. But I think that's what the 7% is. I don't think this is institutions dumping it right here. I really do think this is retail saying, you know what, it's time for me to take some profits. And that's what we're seeing, and a 7% decline right here. So if we get into the 50s, then that means we're the 60s, it just weren't sustainable enough in terms of buy side pressure. But if we rebound from here, if we go up 7% towards the end of the day from down 7%, that would be a hell of a recovery. And that just shows how kind of ironclad Palantir is. But we will see throughout the rest of the day kind of how that plays out. Rocket Lab 1965, Tesla 343. CarMax is trading up right now, even though they said they were going bankrupt. So it is trading on Webull right here. Qs are up 0.33%. Not bad. S&P is green. Dell is up 3%, taking business from SMCI, and Bitcoin trying to get to 91,000 currently right now on the day. Not bad. Not bad at all. Where's SoFi? Let's see if SoFi got back above 14. SoFi 1398. All right, so it touched 14. It wants to get back above 14. Basically right there. There you go. SoFi's at 14. Now we got to hold 14 for a week and start to normalize this $14 level. That would be really good for SoFi. Tesla 344. Tesla hit 360 after Trump got elected. Now at 344, went all the way down to 307. So anyone who sold at 307 is probably a little annoyed right now that it's going back up. But again, Tesla shows you, we thought HIMS was volatile from the Amazon news. Tesla's very volatile on any good piece of Trump news or bad piece of Trump news when it comes to EVs. Tesla's going to react to that. Nvidia is down a nasty 3%. So why is Nvidia down? Again, there was a report over the weekend by The Information that the servers to hold the GPUs for Nvidia have a massive overheating issue, and that is causing a delay in their Blackwell ramp up to their customers. And so the market's kind of afraid about Q4 expectations when it comes to Nvidia. Enphase down another 1%. Again, this is weird. You would think Enphase is bottoming here. Nasty decline from 66 to 58, but Enphase still kind of holding up at these levels, or continue to decline from these levels in that 59-60 range. So that's the problem with Enphase right here, and that's also the problem with Nvidia. Verizon's up 1.6%. I was talking about Verizon last night. I'm looking at Verizon as a 2025 defensive play. You got a nice 6.4% dividend. You have capital appreciation. If we get into a recession, people are probably going to still pay their phone bills. They do have a lot of debt, but they're refinancing that debt. That's kind of one of the bad things about Verizon. And covered call premiums aren't horrible on Verizon. So that's another thing to look at. Let's look at Grindr as well. By the way, I did officially buy Grindr. I am in 500 shares on this stock. So for those that are asking, I am officially in. I will be publishing the due diligence on Twitter later this week and kind of going through it. My target is $19, so it's about 30% upside. I got in at like $14.12. I will DCA if it goes back down to 12 or 13, which I think it probably will go to because it's trading at close to all-time highs right now. But I will publish the DD later this week. It's a really simple thesis. User growth and revenue growth in the context of their average revenue per user, to me, is like just some of the best I've seen on a consumer product. And I don't think that's stopping. And so as a result, I think Grindr is probably a $20 stock in the next couple of years. And it should hopefully get the momentum. I don't think it's going to $20 overnight like Palantir, gains a couple of dollars overnight every single day. But I do think there's a 30% upside target on Grindr. Say pause on that one before you say it. Make sure your DD is a deep dive emit. Yes, it will be. It'll be a deep dive. I think you guys will be actually surprised by some of the stats. People really haven't looked into the financials of it. Even Arnie, our good friend Arnie, I trust Arnie's opinion a lot. Arnie was looking at the financials the other day. I didn't even ask him to. He just he saw, he probably heard me talk about it, and he texted me. He's like, maybe you got something here. And I was like, yeah, the financials aren't that bad. They really aren't. They're actually pretty damn good. So I'll publish more due diligence on that later. Domino's right here up 1.8%. Google's up 0.6%. Oh, we have a new person who bought Airbnb, folks. We have a new person who bought Airbnb. Airbnb, I'm surprised they're down on this news. It's crazy. Nothing can make the stock go up. Ron Barron, famous Tesla investor, has taken a stake in Airbnb. Portfolio holdings as a percentage of net assets of Barron funds is about 1%. So as of September 30th, Ron Barron has put in 1% of the Barron fund, Barron Capital, into Airbnb. Look, I like Airbnb. I think they are definitely like a verb, and people are excited about Airbnb, and like people use Airbnb, all that stuff. Problem is the stock sucks. Like it's just not an interesting stock, and I don't know what they have to do to get the street excited. Brian Chesky is an amazing CEO, but it is interesting seeing new funds get in thinking that there's an opportunity here, but markets ultimately just not reacting in a positive way to Airbnb. You see it peaked at 148. I think it got to like 167 on earnings as well, but now it's right back down to 132.5. Rocket Lab still up 4% right here on Rocket Lab. Where is Palantir? Are we still down on Palantir? Palantir. Oh yeah, look at this. Look at this candle, dude. Down 8%. Got some volatility in the world of Palantir. Palantir down 8%. Yeah, we're getting some real red. All right, so put in the chat. Be honest. Put in the chat. Who is relieved that Palantir is down 8% and who is actually upset that Palantir is down 8%? Put relieved or upset. Because I know a lot of people are definitely relieved because every time it went up $1, a lot of people were getting anxiety that this thing is just not stopping. But there's probably some people that are a little upset. Yeah, look at all these relieved. Look at all these relieved. Everyone's like, yeah, it needed to take a break. This is the funny thing about it, because all the people on Twitter that think the Palantir is a meme stock or whatever, they're going to start looking, they're going to post that it's down 8% and try to make fun of people. And it's like, dude, you don't realize people have been in this thing still since $6. We know it's not natural to go up 10x in like 2 years. So we are kind of relieved that it's taken a little bit of a breather and it's not going to like $100 overnight, right? So it is just going to be funny because this red candle after the, years of green candles at this point, literally 18 months of green candles, is not really, I think, affecting a lot of people. But I think it makes sense that a lot of people are being relieved right here because A, I know a lot of people have covered calls that are underwater, and B, 150 billion is just a little hard to justify. It's definitely hard to justify this on Palantir. Wow, Palantir now almost going down 9%, 60-30. Another 30 cents, I think, takes us down 9% right now. Yeah, a lot of you guys are saying it's healthy. It's healthy. I agree. Definitely is healthy at the end of the day. Hims right here up 4%. Airbnb is still down. Rock Lab up 3.37%. SoFi 13.93. Palantir 60.25. Robinhood 33.74. If we could break above 34 and hold that sucker, that would be amazing. Robinhood 33.75 right here up 4.3% on the day. A close above 33.50 would be really bullish. Breaking out from that 32 range, close above 34 would be super bullish. Yeah, there you go. Palantir below 60. Palantir below 60, now down 9%. The only people I think in the community that are upset about this are the people that bought at $65 on Friday. If you bought at $65 on Friday, I'm sorry. It is what it is, dude. Not much you can say about that. But most people did not buy at 65. So there you go. Down about 10% right here, down about 9% on Palantir. Zeeker's up 9%. What is Zeeker? I feel like I've heard this name before. Zeeker? What is the ticker symbol for Zeeker? Zeeker Intelligent Technology Holdings up 7%. $5.8 billion company. I don't know this one. I'll take a look at the ZK. Zeeker Intelligent Technology. I do not know this one. We'll take a look at that one. SoFi 13.93. What else do we have? Let's look at the Mag 7. How are they doing today? Microsoft's up a little bit. Apple's up a little bit. Google's up a little bit. Meta's down a little bit. Nvidia down 3%. Nvidia getting a real dip. And then Tesla's up 6%. Nvidia getting a real dip. Apple and Microsoft holding up. Nvidia down 3, Tesla up 6%. Let's look at the semis, how they're doing. All the semis are kind of mixed. AMD's up 3%. AMD got hit badly last week, so it makes sense. SMC's up 20%. SMCI. Intel up 2%. Marvell up 0.2, and then Dell up 2.5. I'll taking some business from SMCI as well. Amit, I've just looked at my Palantir. What's happened? What's happened is, Lila, is that Palantir was trading at pretty extended multiples, and we are seeing a healthy retracement in the stock right now. Palantir down 9%. You know, it's so funny. Again, like the fact that all of you said relieved, it's so funny because almost all of us are like, yeah, we kind of expected this to happen. I think a lot of us were expecting this to happen weeks ago, and now it's happening now. And it is what it is. So I think there will be a subset of the community that's actually sad that it's down 10%. Another subset is like, no. Like, you know, being rational, stocks don't go up forever. You know, they take breathers. And now the question is, what's the breathing point for Palantir? Does it breathe at 55 and come back up for life? You know, does it go to 50? Does it go to 45? Is this the start of something bigger? Is this like just a healthy retracement for a day and then it comes back up and there's people ready to buy the dip? I think over the next couple of weeks, we're going to kind of see what it looks like in the context of Palantir. So that's what we got. Palantir down about almost 9% right here. What else are we looking at? Oh, it's a China EV maker. Interesting. Okay. So Zeekr is a China EV maker. And that's why they're up right now. Where's Tesla? Is Tesla still going up? Tesla 340, Tesla 342, up 6.65%. SoFi, again, trying to hold on to that $14 range. SoFi right there at $13.97. Walgreens is up 3%. ASTS is up a little bit. Affirm, wow, nice move on Affirm, up 5.5%. Affirm had a decent earnings. I think they're sandbagging their profitability guidance, but they're probably going to get there. Doge is down about 2%, and Bitcoin is holding 90K. 90,600 is getting Bitcoin some love. NEO's up with earnings this week. Let's take a look at NEO. Again, Chinese stocks at $21 billion leave over the past 5 weeks. So we are seeing some China retracement. NEO right here up 4.7%. Last week, we saw a lot of the celebrity hedge fund guys trim a decent amount of big tech, add to China. Some of them left their position stable. Almost all of them trimmed Apple and Microsoft. Those were the big, I mean, people talk about Palantir's valuation. Apple, you're paying 34 times for no growth. Like, that's not rational either. Like, we know that's not rational. Sorry, 37 times for the trailing 12 months. So, but again, it's kind of blasphemy when you say Apple shouldn't get a premium because it's Apple, right? And they have like $100 billion in cash and they buy back $7 billion worth of shares. I get it. But at the end of the day, they're not growing. And so I wonder kind of how much the market's able to put up with Apple. Given, by the way, Apple Intelligence, I don't know if you guys have it. Siri is useless. The auto summarizations of notifications and messages is literally useless. Like, I see zero, and maybe because the December update's going to be better, but I don't see a like millisecond of productivity enhancements that I was promised with Apple AI. I really don't see it. It's not there, and I'm curious if anyone else sees it. Also, there was this a piece on CNET by a lady who ripped Apple Intelligence to shreds. I mean, I didn't know a journalist could be that mean, bro. Like, she said Apple sucks badly. And it was sad because it's just like the Apple Intelligence features are just not there yet. They're not there for the broader markets yet. But I think obviously eventually it'll be there. It's just at the moment, you know, we're not there. It does suck. Yeah, a lot of you guys are saying that it sucks as well. All over Twitter, people are saying Palantir will not be selected for the QQQ this year, probably why it's down so much. Is that a reason why it's down? I mean, that's like, I don't know if that's the reason why Palantir is down right now. We all know the Qs, they might get in, they might not get in. That's going to be up to, you know, the NASDAQ on if they let us in or not. I think it's down because I think it's down because $66, people were like, all right, this is getting up there right now. And we're taking some profits. I think that's what we're seeing. We got a clip by Tom Sanker right here. He is now part of the Hudson Institute. He just got on the board of directors. Here's a 3-minute clip. This came out just now. Let's take a listen to this this morning, and let's see what he has to say, and then we'll keep going from there.
Here's another one out of the theses here. A budget is a plan, and no plan survives first contact. and the DoD's approach, which is the Program Objective Memorandum, or POM.
Parts of this. One is like from a military doctrine perspective, our warfighters would never say, well, I made the plan, I'm going to stick to the plan even if it's losing. You know, you believe that planning is invaluable, but plans are essentially useless. It's a point in time. But then somehow when we look at our budget, when we look at a requirements document, we look at it and we say, like, I support the president's budget. There's something political that enters the discourse and the conversation. So even though I don't think anyone believes it, when I hear them telling me it, you know, I can tell they don't believe what they're saying, but there would be consequences to, you know, not towing the line.
So what would the new reality look like?
I think we need to be able to more flexibly reprogram things. Like how does a private company or public company even run themselves? You know, it's like, oh, I need to cancel the Apple self-driving car. It's not working. I need to invest in this thing instead. Those things are always traumatic. There's always a lot of people who, you know, have their stake in various programs, but you're able to make those decisions. And
so kind of the same thing Sham said on my podcast as well. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the decision-making praxis that Palantir is using is something that the DoD needs to use as well, or that the government needs to be able to engage in. And that would create a better procurement of software. Now, again, I think one of the reasons we're seeing this 9% sell-off right here is because a lot of Palantir over the past couple of weeks has been storytelling around their vision and their mission, which is good. We saw Karp on CNBC talk about all the storytelling around, you know, the analysts and using the librarian metaphor, all this stuff. All that stuff was important. But now I think on this 9% drawdown, people are looking at the numbers, right? And again, on the show, we've been talking about for weeks, we can qualitatively justify the valuation as much as we want. The numbers, it's hard to live up to it. You know, all right, there you go. Palantir officially down 10%, 59.12. Basically was at $59 on Thursday. So getting back to those levels. Remember, we went up 10% on Friday. So we're basically giving back all the 10% that we got on Friday. And so I think now a lot of people are questioning the broader valuation outside of just the story that Palantir is telling, which you should be doing, right? Because the story has to be connected with numbers. And you're seeing a sell-off right here. That is the sell-off that you're seeing right here, currently, right now. All right, there you go. Again, dude, it's one of those things where I know a lot of us are just like, well, we kind of expected it to not be up like crazy. And it went up like crazy over the past couple of weeks, taking a little bit of a retracement. We'll see kind of where that floor is, where the bottom is. Is 59 the dip? Is 50 the dip? Is it going back to 45? We will see. But as of now, momentum is to the downside, down about 9.7%. Also, Rocket Lab just went red. Rocket Lab was up 7%. Now it's down 2%. I don't know how that happened. Rocket Lab just turned completely red in a second. 43 million volume already on Palantir. Wow, that's actually, dude, 43 million. That is the average is like 55. So that means in the first 25 minutes, you've got an 80% of the volume on average. And all of that volume is sell side. I mean, a majority of that volume, obviously, given we're down 10%, is sell side pressure. Again, this to me feels like retail. 100% feels like retail, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what it feels like. And that's okay, right? Retail taking profits right here, that's fine, but it definitely does feel a little bit more like retail. Apple right here, 226, Tesla 340. Tesla's the only one holding its gains today. Rocket Lab's not holding the gains. SoFi trying to hold it. Is Hood holding onto it? Hood's holding onto it decently well, up about 4% right there. The Qs are up a little bit. You got Dell up about 3%, taking away some business from SMCI. Eli Lilly still down. The other pharma companies are recovering a little bit. MicroStrategy up about 2%. Affirm up 4%. Amazon slightly flat. Amazon at 203, trying to break out of the 200s for the first time and really get above there. And then Bitcoin potentially getting below 90,000 right now. Marathon. Yeah, let's check out Marathon. Marathon also got hit badly, dude. Marathon, $700 million convertible offering. They're down 10% as well. It's not fun when you get diluted by 700 million. By the way, for all the Rocket Lab people in the chat, do you guys honestly think there's no dilution coming in 2025? Riot down 2%. Can you guys honestly say there's no dilution, or do you think there's a good shot if Rocket Lab gets to like 25, 30, then we're going to get diluted? What do you guys think? Because I think that's another part that I think some people are worried about when it comes to Rocket Lab. Square's up 4% of the day. Yep, we talked about this last week on Technical Tuesday. Jason said that Square would benefit from Bitcoin volatility. And it's one of the only ones that hasn't benefited from Bitcoin volatility. So now it's starting to catch up a little bit when it comes to Bitcoin. Okay, a lot of you are saying No for the dilution. Have you seen the Wall Street Bets Palantir short thread? No, I haven't seen that, James. I'm sure there's a lot of short analysis this weekend, though. A lot of people were saying. Okay, a lot of you guys are saying no. So the only thing is, again, like they're not profitable yet. I think they will be profitable soon. But the question is going to be if they delay profitability, will the dilution happen? And I think that's one of the bigger concerns around Rocket Lab. Even though, you know, given their revenue growth, I don't think they're going to have to dilute because they're growing enough to kind of keep up with their expenses. Nubank as well, down 3%. This is another one I was looking at for 2025. I think that the covered call premiums on Nubank is also pretty good. So that's one of the candidates that I'm looking at as well. Yeah, we got Amir's tweet right here. Look at what Amir said. Palantir bubble popped. Do you guys see the amount of pictures? He's throwing out Jim Cramer's book. The amount of pictures that people have with like the intelligent investor throwing it in the trash, and they say Palantir $150 billion market cap, and they're like throwing the intelligent investor in the trash and trying to be funny. It's the opposite right here. Bubbles popped. Now we're down 9%. I should tweet that. I should say the bubbles popped. I should tweet that. Oh my gosh. Hood over 34. All right. There we go, baby. It's what we need on the hood. Yeah, look at that. 34.10 up 5%. Look at that. Not bad. Again, those upgrades this week were really good for Robinhood. Or today. Really, really good for Robinhood. 34.09 now on hood. I've been refusing to sell covered calls on Robinhood because I really think there's a shot this sucker breaks out as Bitcoin continues to do well. And I can't think, like, the highest strike is 50 right now. I'm not saying Robinhood has to go to 50, but I just want to leave the shares until we get into the 40s, if that happens. And then I think the covered calls becomes more appropriate. But at 34, I think the momentum's there. It also depends on November, trading volumes. October was amazing. So we got to see what happens in November. But the sentiment is there. The excitement is there. And, I think a lot of other analysts are going to upgrade Robinhood as well. Robinhood 34.25 right now, up about 5.6% right here. I just got the notice for the new desktop Robinhood app today. Yeah, it's awesome. So legend, you'll enjoy using that. Robinhood $100 by 2030. I've been saying I think it's a triple-digit stock in the next 5 years. So that would put us around 100 by 2030. I think that's possible. They've got to grow assets under custody closer to 500 billion and users closer to 35 million. Right now, they're at 25 million. And so if it takes them 5 years to 4x AUC and basically grow users by 40%, 50%, then I think $100 is possible, along with all the other innovative products they can launch, right? That they're doing that no other brokerage is really doing right now. All right, Palantir back to 60. So you're getting a little bit of the dip getting bought up right here. So the bottom was 59.85 so far on the day. You're seeing a little bit of green right there as people start to come in at 59. $60 is now where it's at. Again, we have a long day. It's down 8%. We have a long day left. Volume is 48 million shares. If you get some buyers coming back in and it actually makes a recovery back to 65, which would be crazy, that would show you a lot of strength on Palantir. But we are getting a little bit of the dip being bought up right there at 59. Tesla at 343. Rocket Lab now down 1%. Rocket Lab getting eaten up a little bit as well. Grinders up 2%, 1447. SoFi 1388. Shopify 106 down 2%. Nubank down 2%. Square's up 4%. And then you got Apple chilling at 226 currently right now. Ebound says Palantir will finish green. I'm calling it. To finish green, it has to go back to 65. So that is going to be hard, but maybe that ends up happening later today. Doug says Palantir is a big gap down at 45.07. Gaps do get filled, but I remember when Palantir was at 15, there was a gap at 7. That gap never got filled. I don't know if we're going to get filled on that gap anytime soon. But if that gap does get filled at 45, then I think you'll have a lot of people buying the dip, but you also have a lot of covered calls that'll probably be saved for the foreseeable future. Where's Lyft? Lyft and Uber is down. Yeah, this is the one. So although I liked Lyft at $10, I never ended up pulling the trigger. The reason Lyft is down is because of Tesla, right? Lyft, even though Lyft has an amazing operational free cash flow margin story, but they face the same fate as Uber does if Tesla truly takes over the ride-hailing market, which is, what's the reason to call a Lyft and an Uber if I call a Tesla? Now, again, I think that story is far away, but market is pricing in that future growth. And if that future non-existing growth is there because Tesla has self-driving vehicles, which again, I think is still far away. So it's always funny to me when the market takes down Lyft and Uber off like a headline, because like that's not happening anytime soon. But the market doesn't care. So Lyft down 6%, Uber down. Wow, Uber's down 6%, bro. Just off this Tesla news. For those that are just joining, the news broke last night that from Bloomberg that Tesla's going to get some easing of regulations in the self-driving autonomous part of the Department of Transportation, which is why Tesla is up and why Uber's down. It's incredible. Uber really is down on this news. It's pretty incredible. Doug says Lyft would not survive if Tesla is the winner. Uber would survive based on logistics. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. And again, I don't think Uber is dead. Like Uber is such a big company, dude. Like it's not done. I mean, like Uber's India business alone. Tesla's not going to have FSD in India. Like that's not happening. So Uber will stay alive in India, for example, right? There's so many parts of their business that are not going to die out, but the future growth at, compounded 20-30%, given Uber is already a $145 billion company, that probably will not be as easy if Tesla gets scale. But again, Tesla's not even making the Cybercab till 2026. Like it's not even going to go into production for another 2 years. So, and 2027, does it ramp up immediately or does it have to take a couple of years to ramp up? Like this might be a 2028, 2030 story, not a 2025 story. FSD will be available in Texas and California. That'll happen next year, but those are two states that I don't think are going to completely commoditize Uber's offerings. So it is weird every time the street just like decimates Uber off any Tesla news. But that's what's happening right now. And we're seeing that. Palo Alto Networks got upgraded today. They are up about 0.27%. Let's take a look at CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike at 340. That's up 1%. CrowdStrike almost back to all-time highs at these levels. Yeah, Uber Eats, that's not going anywhere either. Uber Eats is still pretty strong. Let's take a look at Grab. I know a lot of you guys have been looking at Grab. Me and Chris will be doing a podcast on that soon, trying to get his thoughts out there. Grab is up 1.8%. Grab, one of the things about Grab, when you look at the chart, I was looking at it this week, look at this consolidation in this range. I think that's another reason Chris likes it right here, right? I mean, this consolidation is pretty. From 2022, it was at $3.20 till today, which is almost 2025. So 3 years later, it's at $4.82. You know what that reminds me of? SoFi. Reminds me of SoFi. This chart almost looks identical to SoFi, and now we're seeing what's happening with SoFi. So the question is there something exciting about Grab that can cause it to break out like SoFi? With SoFi, obviously, it was rate cuts and loan originations going higher. SoFi $13.99. And if there is a catalyst with Grab, and I'll talk about that with Chris on the pod, maybe that's what gets Grab to officially break out. But the consolidation on the chart is looking really juicy. I mean, 3 years stuck at below $5 for a company that's growing seems exciting. Robinhood right here, 34.05, up about 5.3% on the day. Grab charts looking like Rocket Lab chart. Yeah, it looks like Rocket Lab chart as well. Lots of consolidation down at those levels. HIMS, where's HIMS right now? HIMS is up 8% on the day. So HIMS peaked at 30.44. Now it's at 20.95. It went down to like 17 last week. So it's getting some love right here as people are buying it up, thinking that the Amazon fears are not going to be ultimately that big of a deal. Amit, is SoFi a buy here? Well, let's ask the chat. Would you guys buy SoFi here? I think SoFi, I mean, SoFi has done nothing to make me feel like they're not a buy at these levels. Now, it was a much better buy at $7 and $8. I get it. But if finances in 2025 financials are going to have a massive tailwind with rate cuts and loan originations going higher for all of these banks, I mean, yeah, I think SoFi is not horrible here. SoFi would have to really mess up earnings in regards to member growth or tech platform growth. Now, look, tech platform is not growing that well already. But if it really starts showing a steep decline, I think the market could get upset. If the tech platform just continues to grow at like 10%, 15%, and the lending business grows closer to 25%, you're going to get a 25 to 30% CAGR for the next 3 quarters. And I think it's hard to see SoFi below $20 at that point. So I don't think it's a horrible buy right here. I definitely think selling puts on it. Maybe not a buy, but selling puts at $12, $11. Like I would be happy to be assigned those shares at 12 or 11. I wouldn't care that much. And also, the sentiment has changed and it's broken out of its base. If you look right here, that base that bottomed at $4 and that stayed there for about 3 years at $7, that is officially broken out. And it would take really bad execution for them to get back there, which SoFi, executes pretty damn well. Robinhood 33.32 on Hood, up 6.13%. Robinhood getting some strong momentum off those upgrades today for Hood. Do you think in 3 weeks Robinhood can cross $39? Just rolled covered calls. That will happen if Bitcoin gets, into that $100,000 range. Outside of Bitcoin getting to 100,000, 39 is going to be tough for Robinhood because you're trying to touch 40 at that point. They don't have any company specific catalysts. But again, if crypto just goes wild, which this is the time where crypto tends to go wild, then yeah, I could see that happening. But it's going to be based on Bitcoin. Bitcoin right here at 90,700 currently right now. Why the dip on Nvidia today? Again, their servers are seeing some overheating issues for Nvidia, and that's why Nvidia is down. Streets pricing in lower Blackwell growth going into Q4. Nvidia down about 2.4%. Where's TSM? TSM also should be down on this. TSM is also down about 0.22% currently right now. Noto has incentives to get SoFi to 45. We got this. Well, that's another reason I'm excited about SoFi, at least for $20. I think his first tranche in 2026 of incentives is at 26 or 25. So by June of 2026, SoFi has to be above 25 for him to get the beginning of his tranches for his performance stock options, or PSUs, performance stock units. And so he's motivated, he might not get there, but he's definitely motivated. He's going to work his ass off to do it. I mean, he gets like a almost $350 million payday if that plays out, which is why he's not selling any shares, right? You see all these other execs sell shares of SoFi. Noto never does it because Noto knows selling shares would be like, it would just look bad for the overall stock. B, he has a lot more money to make in the future if this thing gets to 25 to 45. So I don't think he's too worried about taking profits right here at these $14 levels. Is Hood at 52-week highs? Are we at 50? Wow. Hood touched 34.58. We were close. Look at that. 35 would be really nice on Hood if we can get 35. Let me check resistance at 35. 35 would be amazing. But a close above 34 to me would still be super bullish. All right, at 35, the resistance is 170,000 shares. Okay, so it's not going to be easy. But 35 would be nice. Amit, are we jumping into XRP? I do not own any XRP. I only think XRP is up because the Bitcoin markets are up right now, or like the whole crypto markets are up right now. So although I think XRP has some really promising elements to it and it's done very well, it's up in the past 7 days, 100%. If Bitcoin takes a beating, so will XRP. So to me, it's kind of pick your poison when it comes to crypto. Either you buy Bitcoin and go down with it or go up with it. You buy Solana, which broke out over the weekend at 243, close to all-time highs, XRP, Dogecoin. But all of these things will get destroyed if Bitcoin gets destroyed. So if you think Bitcoin's headed to 3-4 trillion over the next year or two, and we're not stopping at 90,000, then it's kind of take your pick of the litter, because I think everything goes up with Bitcoin, whether it's XRP or not. But obviously, it depends on the Bitcoin thesis kind of fully playing out over the next couple of years. Also, Gensler leaving is definitely a tailwind for Bitcoin as well. Jeff Yass of Susquehanna sold 277,000 shares of Palantir. He also bought 1.8 million shares of IBIT. Okay. Kind of consistent with what we've been seeing. A lot of them have been buying more IBIT and decreasing some of their tech exposure. So that makes sense. Amid Biden gave the green light to Ukraine to do a strike deep inside Russia. Do you think this can cause a black swan event? Okay, so I saw this news last night, and this was really annoying. Biden gave Ukraine some green light to launch some special types of missiles in Russia. It's really annoying because the joke was yesterday they're trying to start World War III before Trump gets in office. I don't know, dude. I really hope that's not a black swan event. I saw that last night. Futures didn't react to it too much, so market didn't care a lot. I don't know what's the purpose of launching that strike in Russia. I'm not, an expert on what they're trying to do there, but I don't think it would cause a black swan event. Is it possible? Sure. I just really hope that doesn't happen. That would be really annoying before Trump gets in for them to launch a ton of missiles and, then Trump can't put an end to it, which I don't know if Trump's going to put an end to it, but a lot of people are thinking, hey, there's a chance a deal gets brokered pretty soon. You know what's going to happen? I was talking to Adam over the weekend. I got dinner with Adam in New York. We went to this place called Mission Ceviche. If anyone has ever went there, incredible place in New York City. It's like one of the toughest places to get a reservation for. But Adam, who is Russian, his thoughts on this, his perspective is, hey, Trump's going to promise that Ukraine never joins NATO ever. Like he's going to give his guarantee to Putin that they never get NATO. Putin's going to take a little part of Ukraine that already is a lot of Russian-speaking population is already there, and that's going to be the deal. And that's it. And maybe that's how it turns out. But the only way Russia stops is if they are absolutely promised Ukraine's never joining NATO. I think Trump's going to give him that promise. Biden necessarily didn't give him that promise. Hood right here up 6.5%. And if that's the case, then, maybe that's how it gets resolved. But I think still there's a lot of questions on the table, if that ends up playing out. But it looks like that would be the deal. And that's not the best deal for Ukraine. That's not the best deal for Russia. But nonetheless, that is what he thinks, in his opinion, that'll play out. SoFi 1408 up 3.3%. Palantir, a little bit of a recovery. You got a little bit of a green candle, down 7.4%. It was down 11%. Now it's down 7.4%. So you got Palantir at $60.80, showing a little bit of a recovery. Mike says you shouldn't talk about Ukraine because you don't know what you're talking about. That is exactly why I said I'm not an expert on this. And the perspective I got from Adam, who is a friend of mine, who is Russian, that's what he thinks. We got to stop being emotional, guys. We got to stop being emotional. Like, obviously, I'm not an expert on Ukraine, but the best that I can give from the people that I talk to is the assumptions that we're looking at right here, right? I'm not an expert on Ukraine. I'm sure a lot of people that think they're experts on Ukraine are not experts on Ukraine. But at the end of the day, we got to get this war to be resolved. And if it requires going back and forth and getting a deal done, then I think that's what's going to have to happen. And so Adam, who is from Russia, and he's, his perspective is, hey, he's going to have to promise that we never get NATO. And that's it. That's the only way it gets resolved. Now, will that end up working out? I don't know. But I think for the sake of the stock market, we need this thing to get resolved. And for the sake of, the billions of dollars we're spending in Ukraine, it eventually has to get resolved. HIMS right here up 6%. Robinhood up 6%. CrowdStrike as well up 1.27% on the day currently as well. What else do we have right here? How do you think Ukraine feels about that? I don't know. And eventually we're going to have to figure out, bro. We are really going to have to figure out. Oklo's up 10% right now. See, that energy director getting on the board of Oklo, Chris Wright. Yeah, that's definitely bullish, dude. It's so funny. Trump is appointing all these different people, and they're having all these different impacts on different stocks. Obviously, with Tesla, we saw. Also with Oklo, up 11% right here. From Chris Wright joining the energy department. Tesla as well, up 8%. It's like this is going to be one of those 4 years where the markets are going to be contingent a lot on Trump appointments. And we might see some more momentum in a variety of different stocks based on this. Okay, so that's what we got going on right now in the context of the markets. Is Adam Go-Carp? Oh, no, this is a different Adam. I had dinner with Adam Bergman. Some of the OGs know Adam Bergman. He was making YouTube videos on Palantir when it was like $6 a long time ago. But he has, Adam's done really well in the markets, like really well this year. And so now he kind of just doesn't care about, about being super public. It's funny. After you make some money, you kind of just like want to sit back and chill and just like, live your life, and you don't need to be public anymore. So I like being public because I enjoy, the process of making content and all this stuff. But if you made good money, you kind of, he's basically retired, he's made enough money this year to retire. So he kind of just doesn't need to worry about YouTube or doing really anything, to be honest. Carnival Cruise 2430 right here. I like Carnival. I think Chris has done the DD on this. I think it makes a lot of sense. I would sell puts at like 21 or 22 to scale into this position. But I think 2025, they should be good as long as rates keep coming down and their debt continues to be resolved as well, which is important. Amit, why don't you do some real life DD on Grindr? Guy, I downloaded the app. I've done DD on Grindr. Like, I've seen the app. I personally am not a fan of it, whether you believe me or not, because my interests are not on the app. But like, I played around with the app just to see, like, the best thing about the app is that they are so geo oriented. Like, you could be in a random spot in the world And because Grindr is so global, there's users for you to interact with, let's say, is the best word. So I think that's another thing that makes it so sticky, is that there's so many users in so many different places that, you know, it gives people the opportunity to constantly interact. And so Tesla right here up 8%. That is why Grindr has a monopoly on gay dating. Oh my God. The comments are amazing. The comments are great. Dude, I really did download the app for DD. Like, I really need to know what the hell is like in this app that makes people so excited. And like, you know, the app still kind of sucks from a user perspective. Like, there's too many ads and stuff. Like, they got to fix up the app. But like the core functionality, if your goal is to interact with someone, I mean, within 5 minutes, you can interact with someone. And like that speed to value when it comes to Grindr, I don't think it's going away. And that's why the market's excited about it. But that's what we got in the context of Grindr. Zim is a sleeper. Yeah, I'll be covering Zim's earnings this week. We don't cover them too much, but they're a shipping company, so they'll have earnings this week. Zim right here up 3.14%. Small company, $3.2 billion. But if they get a tailwind from shipping, then they should do well. SoFi holding above 14 and Robinhood holding above 34, which is amazing. Hims right here at 20. Palantir, a little bit more recovery, man. $61. Almost back to 61. It was down 10%. Now it's down 7.5%. So you do have some dip buyers on Palantir. Volume on Palantir currently is 60 million. Goodness gracious. Lost about $15 billion in market cap, but 60 million shares trading back and forth on Palantir. That is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. Okay, let's get an update on Nvidia. We got Nvidia earnings coming up this Wednesday. Let's take a look at what some analysts are thinking on Nvidia.
Suppliers to change the server racks for Blackwell due to overheating. How much does it concern you?
It does not concern me very much at all. Look, NVIDIA went through this about 5 months ago. The thing with NVIDIA is NVIDIA is very quick to make changes. And this particular overheating issue with the Blackwell, that's already been played out and the design was changed. So if we're talking about potentially a new overheating issue, we may be talking about Grace Blackwell, but I can tell you definitively that Jensen's not the kind of CEO that likes to make the same mistake twice. So I don't see this problem happening. Or if it is, it's probably not a meaningful issue because Jensen was able to come back, or NVIDIA was able to come back from the previous issue in less than 2 months.
But does it change the numbers if there has to be a delay? I mean, Jensen did tell CNBC, I don't know, a month or so ago that the demand for Blackwell was, quote, insane. So I don't think that's the problem, but the timing.
I don't think the timing changes at all. I think Blackwell is ready to go. I think Blackwell is fixed. And we maintain our tagline, you have to own NVIDIA into the Blackwell ramp. I mean, that's going to be the rosiest period of owning Blackwell is when Blackwell is ramping. So I maintain that we've had this overheating issue, particularly with Blackwell, and I think it's been addressed. I think we're expecting like tiny bit of volume to come through in the October quarter, and then substantial volume to come through in the January quarter. And that's the way we see it with NVIDIA.
Well, Harsh, we are going to get earnings fairly soon. So what are you looking for? And perhaps even more importantly, when we listen to the commentary around the earnings, you know, what are going to be some of the key milestones that you're going to watch?
Yes. So historically, if we go back last 1.5 years, NVIDIA has been on this cadence of about $2 billion beat and $2 billion rise. So that literally the quarters are rising about $4 billion apiece. So for the October quarter, we're expecting slightly less than the $2 billion cadence. We're expecting about a $1.3 billion beat. And that's because it's simple. Blackwell isn't out yet. So the volume isn't there. When you get to the January quarter, Blackwell, we think will do somewhere around $6, $7, $8 billion of revenue. But you could potentially get two situations. You get extreme supply constraint. You could also get a pause in the H100 and the H200 complex, the older chips. Because, you know, why would you want the older chip when the latest chips are available? So we're expecting, again, slightly less than $2 billion beat, but the numbers will keep rising. But when you get to April, it's a whole different ball game. Again, tagline, you have to own it when the ramp comes. Starting April, we see a massive ramp in Blackwell. We see the introduction of Grace Blackwell at the end of the April quarter, possibly the early July part of the quarter. And then you're off to significantly bigger beats than the 2 billion historical beats. So I would urge patience with all the volatility that we're seeing with the stock and focus on the ramp of the new products. The reality is, guys, there's nobody else in this space that does what they do as well as how NVIDIA does it.
What about?
So, I mean, the analyst community definitely feeling that NVIDIA is absolutely a buy right here. And the Palantir, it's coming back a little bit, folks. 61.55. You got some buyers coming in. But I think his comments on the April ramp are really interesting. So he thinks by Q2 2025, the ramp of Blackwell is going to be so significant that if you don't own it by then, you're going to be missing out on some pretty strong growth estimates, which means he thinks that growth is likely not slowing down or from a cyclicality perspective in 2025, but maybe 2026. So NVIDIA kind of still has that momentum on its side, which is why a lot of the street probably thinks, NVIDIA to 185, 190 makes a lot more sense. SoFi 1405, Robinhood 3419, Palantir now making a slight recovery. It was down 10%. Now it's down 6.63%. Volume is 63 million. Pretty incredible that we're seeing a little. Look at those green candles right there. So 58.85 was where we were down the most today. And then you got some green coming back up. Buying it at 61. It's going to be tough, dude. I think it's going to be tough to take Palantir back down to 50 or 45. Steve just texted me, nah. Hey, goodbye. Palantir dump underway. Dumb people are going to get burnt. I know Steve wants this sucker to go down back to 40. I don't know if he's as easily going to get this thing to go back down to 40. I don't know. I don't think it'll be that easy. But again, we could see that happen. And it was funny. A lot of people, again, felt they were relieved when Palantir fell today, down 10%. Will that relief last, or will we just continue to go higher, down 6.67%? And here's the thing we talked about last week as well. Now the dip becomes more attractive on bigger falls. So is $58 really a dip for Palantir? No, not really, right? $58 is not a dip. It's close to an all-time high. But because we went to 66, going down to 58, that feels like a dip because it's down 10%. And usually you buy when it's down 10%. So, when stocks like this are down 10%, it ends up feeling like people want to get back in. And that ends up being a dip opportunity. Chad says, ask Steve how Intel's doing. Oh my gosh, dude. Well, you got 61.53 right here on Palantir. Not really seeing that same 10% decline. I think in the next couple of hours, we're going to know what direction this guy wants to go. Do we want to go back down to 58 and this is just a little bit of a bull trap? Or was that 58.85 a bear trap and that was a juicy dip that people are going to take advantage of? We are going to see. Tesla still maintaining its momentum, up 7.6% right here. Bitcoin 90,500. Rocket Lab 1905. Rocket Lab now green. Airbnb still red. Grinder 1478. It's up right now. Again, volume on this one is low, 116,000 shares. So whenever it moves up a lot, we also have to remember Grinder is just a very illiquid stock. So it could just be something swinging it back and forth. Robinhood 3410, grab 48.44, $4.85 right here. CrowdStrike 341 and Palo Alto at 387 currently right now. Time Lord Hercules says, I added to Palantir under 59 and Nvidia at mid 137, letting Tesla arrive. I got to believe and add to my positions when a dip presents itself. Already have great gains, adding to my position on the dip. I think a lot of other people also, will be averaging up if they see a nasty dip on Palantir, if they already have a very good average. If you have a $15 average, $20 average, I do think people will average up. Question will be if that momentum is enough to withstand any massive sell side pressure. Every time he talks about Grinder, it's an instant innuendo. Yeah, dude, every single time, dude. As soon as I said swinging back and forth, I realized, I was like, goodness, it's going to be hard to talk about this stock. It's going to be really hard to talk about this stock every time. Amit, you started a new position in Grindr, but didn't want to start a new position in Tesla. Yeah, because Tesla's more expensive than Grindr. Grinder's $14. Tesla's $320. So the Tesla position, my goal for Tesla is to scale in via puts. And right now, I don't have enough cash to collateralize the puts. 2025, that'll happen, hopefully. But yeah, buying Tesla 345 outright to me is just kind of dumb. Like just buying, like the thing's up 100% in 2 weeks. Like I'm not going to buy shares of Tesla at 345 when it's up that much, but scaling into puts at 290, 300, that is more appropriate to me. So that is the goal with Tesla. Again, if I get into Tesla, I want it to be a real position. You know, I want to at least start off with a couple hundred shares, and that just means we need a little bit more capital to get there. Really hard to stop talking about this stock, bro. Stop, dude. I'm not even trying, bro. At this point, at this point. Oh my gosh, are you also buying Dick's? No, I'm not buying Dick's, but that's not a bad business, bro. I mean, they're growing really nicely, Dick's. Let me see how much they're up year to date. Last time I checked, they had a good earnings. I don't know if they're super green year to date. Yeah, dude, they're up 36% year to date. They had a great earnings in July. They'll probably continue as we get into holiday season. I mean, I'm just saying, like, some of these stocks with certain names tend to go up. At least they've gone up this year. So yes, Dick's is growing. Correct. Dick's is growing. Okay, cool. So wait, does Dick's have a dividend? Because then I might actually, yeah, there's a 2.2. All right, guys, I'm looking for dividend stocks next year. I'm actually kind of interested. Not gonna lie. I'm looking for a 2.21% divvy. That would be nice. And if the covered call premiums are decent, let's check right now. How good are the covered call premiums on Dick's? Dick's is growing, dude. They are growing. Okay, so sell call 1 month out. Let's say we wanted to do, it's at 199. Let's say I want to do 205. So what's the premium on that? 180 divided by 20 grand. It's a 1% premium. Not amazing, but you got a 2% dividend. So you're kind of manufacturing 3%. That's not horrible. That's not bad. I'm serious about this too, dude. I'm looking for dividend stocks I want to have like 10 dividend stocks in 2025 that I DCA into every month, meaning I could buy, call it, 50 shares a month of each of those 10 stocks, and I could sell covered calls on all of them. I would really love to. So the logic behind that, like being realistic in terms of 2025 is, if I don't know if 2025 is going to be an amazing year or a year where like shit hits the fan. And right now, I think the sentiment is that 2025 is the year where shit hits the fan. Okay. So if the sentiment is shit is going to hit the fan, I would argue that shit's not going to hit the fan, right? Because that's what's been happening for the past couple of years. 2023, 2024, Mike Wilson, all these people are like, well, shit's going to hit the fan. SoFi up 3.8%. It didn't hit the fan. We kept growing. Can we do that 3 years in a row? I don't know. And I'm not going to be the guy to say that, yes, it is going to happen, because it's really hard to keep ramping up when you've had 2 really good years in the stock market. So I want to start wheeling more in 2025, and I want to start collecting some dividends, just like some safe plays. And I want to get into defensive names where even if we have a little bit of a downturn, those defensives should not get hit as badly as a Amazon, falling 20%. If that something like that could happen. And if I could sell covered calls on them and manufacture 1 to 2% a month in terms of premiums, plus get a 4 to 5% a year divvy, and maybe get some capital appreciation, but that's not really the goal, I would be happy with that. So that is part of the strategy to hedge against having a ton of Palantir and a ton of Robinhood, which are going to be very volatile next year, and probably a ton of Tesla eventually. Maybe have a little bit more of some of those safer plays, which is the goal. Eric says CNBC is trying so hard to bring Tesla down, saying that states are in control of FSD regulations. Let's see if CNBC is talking about Tesla right now. Let's bring that up. RBC did put out a note on Tesla, so we'll talk about that in a second. Oh, yeah. We got some Tesla updates. All right, here we go. Let's listen to what CNBC is saying about Tesla. They are not as bullish as most people, but that's because of CNBC. All right, here we go.
For self-driving vehicles. Our Phil LeBeau has more on that. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Carl, this is a Bloomberg report that came out from sources in the Trump transition team saying that they want to make sure that under the DOT and the Trump administration, that autonomous vehicle technology and the development of autonomous vehicles is a priority. So this sets up the question, what does that mean? Well, could ease federal oversight. Remember, NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they are technically in charge of federal vehicle regulations on a federal level. They would like them to be much friendlier to the idea of autonomous vehicles. That would speed up the development of robotaxis in the case of Tesla. Remember, Tesla and the Cybercab, which Elon Musk showed during their event in October, has no steering wheel, had no pedals. The goal here is to put this into production by 2026, though most people say, look, that would be moving it very quickly. 27, 28 is more likely. It would have full autonomy. How is that different than what you see with Teslas right now? Well, remember that the current unsupervised, there is no full self-driving unsupervised. Right now, Tesla has full self-driving, but it requires driver oversight. Yes, you can take your hands off the wheel, but the driver is expected to stay in charge, in control of the vehicle. In other words, you just can't fall asleep there. And that is the requirement for full self-driving. By the way, they expect to try out unsupervised full self-driving, perhaps in Texas, perhaps in California, as soon as next year. As you take a look at shares of Tesla since the Trump election, on election day on November 5th, shares have been off to the races. Keep in mind that states regulate vehicle licensing as well as driver licensing. And ultimately, many believe this determination about autonomous vehicles and how widespread they become, it becomes a state's right versus a federal right in terms of regulation. And I think ultimately, guys, that's where we're headed, somewhere down the line.
I mean, look, even if it is a states thing over a federal thing, at the end of the day, yeah, they're showing these old Teslas. That was so weird. Why are they showing Teslas from like 2013 or something? But even if it's a states issue, I don't think that stops the progress. Because at the end of the day, Robin at 34.32, trying to break, oh, it hit 34.70. It's trying to break 35 today. Let's see if that's possible. At the end of the day, the states also know that autonomy is the future. And I don't think the states can hold back on allowing autonomy to win because of like the fears they have about self-driving, when a lot of the data that's going to come out is going to show that, you know, Tesla's in the lead. Tesla right here up 8.3%. So Nvidia recovering a little bit. It was down 2%. Now it's down 1.2% back to 140. States' rights or a federal issue, I think at the end of the day, Tesla's going to win. I really think it's going to be very hard for, you know, California and Texas to necessarily have fundamentally different laws when this gets to scale, because you're going to have other people lobbying. Waymo's going to be lobbying, Cruise potentially, but there's going to be so many other companies outside of Tesla that are going to want friendlier regulations. And if Tesla is the best tech, they're probably going to end up winning in that race. SoFi breaking out nicely as well. 14.23 up 4% on the day. So SoFi holding a nice 4%. Carnival Cruises up, Oaklow's up, Hims up 10% on the day. So buying the dip on Friday definitely has helped. CrowdStrike at 342, Tesla up 8%, and then Nvidia trying to make its way back into that 145 range currently right now. Jay, thank you for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Jay, for joining the channel and becoming a member. What else are we looking at right here? Interesting. You could drive without a license a few years from now. Yeah, maybe that also happens. I mean, there's going to be so many different things when it comes to the future of driving. That's going to be something different the world has to grapple with, definitely the United States. But here's the thing. Trump's going to be gone in 2028, right? And so then the question is going to be, or 2029, whatever year it is. So then the question is going to be who's going to be superseding him. And if it's Vance, who is going to inherit an administration that was friendly to self-driving, then that means you've got 8 years, if Vance wins potentially, of Tesla FSD to be able to really scale, right? And then if a Democrat wins in 2029, if they see the data and they're friendly towards Elon and friendly towards FSD, then you've still potentially got momentum around full self-driving and the ability for autonomous vehicles to scale. So I think Elon has a good 8 years of getting this figured out, but he needed an administration that would be friendly in its first term to lower the regulations. And that's what he's getting right now with Trump. At least currently right now. Lisa says, my account just hit an all-time high, so I told him to ring the bell for that, and he downloaded a cowbell for me. That's funny. I love it, Lisa. That's great. Congratulations. I know a lot of people hitting all-time highs right now. Tesla doing well. Obviously, that's helping. Robinhood doing well. Look at Robinhood, 34.55. It's really trying to break that 34.50 level. SoFi is also doing great right here. SoFi 14.24 up 4%. Bitcoin also 91,000. There you go. That's helping Robinhood right now. 91,281. Again, MicroStrategy bought 50,000 Bitcoin last week at 88,000 a coin. MicroStrategy is up another 5%, and Coinbase is down about 0.42%, but Coinbase back above $300 Robinhood at 34.50 right now. Not bad. Not bad at all. What is going on with Joby? Let's take a look at Joby. Joby 563. They're down 1.75%. Is Archer down as well? Oh, Cathie Wood sold a ton of Rocket Lab on Friday, by the way. Archer is up a little bit, I think. Archer is up 4%. Yeah, she's been selling. She sold like 1 million shares of Rocket Lab this week. So she's been taking profits. She also sold a bunch of SoFi last week. She sold Palantir on Friday as well, 200,000 shares. So she's been selling Robin at 34.60. Wow, 7% on the day. Goodness. Market likes those upgrades. Really like those upgrades. So yeah, Cathie has been selling a decent amount. What do you think of Nike today? You know, the only reason I would like Nike is because they got that divvy. So that might be a reason. Like if I were to buy Nike next year, it would be because of the dividend. And it would be because I'm following Bill Ackman. But that's it. Like there is no other thesis to Nike that I can think of. Yeah, it's down a lot. So maybe recovery, sure. But I would literally be trusting Ackman and the divvy. That would be the only reason I buy Nike. That's it. I get that they have a brand that's, you know, a brand that's one of the most exciting brands in the world. And no one can really compete with their brand. But there is a lot of competition, even if it's not literally hurting Nike. It's making consumers pick different choices, you know? Now, granted, I think Ackman just thinks the business is so beat up or the stock is so beat up that they have nowhere to go but up. That's why he's buying it. But other than that, I don't fully understand the broader thesis. What kind of fund sells off their winners every 2 weeks? Yeah, that's the part that's been confusing me about Cathie a lot. Like, I don't get why she's selling some of the winners, you know? Like, it's just really weird when she sells the winners. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's very, because the thing she loads up on is like she's big on this whole CRISPR therapeutics. So did we watch the Cathie interview from Friday? I don't think we watched it, but she was explaining her strategy on CNBC, and her argument was just like, yeah, like genomics is the next big thing no one understands. And I'm like, all right, I guess it's genomics is the future. It's just like, I don't know. It feels like they're pretty early and they're trying to capture on that momentum. But the street is not interested in it yet. Bitcoin trying to get to 92. 92. Where's Hood? Hood, I think it's going for 35 today, folks. 34.60. I think it's going to try. 35 is going to be tough, but I think it's trying. Holding above 34 would not be bad at all. All right, here's Cathie last week. Here's her talking about Tesla and some of the volatility of the ARK fund itself.
The stock has moved materially since the election. And as you know, I think this guy's a genius, Elon Musk, and I think Tesla's done wonderful things. But I'm trying to just understand the price action. I could see somebody make an argument that tariffs that'll prevent other EV makers from China to come in should be helpful. I could see an argument that if the IRA goes away and certain subsidies go away to a Ford and a GM, given where Tesla is in the marketplace, that should be a benefit. I could see, though I'll be very straight with you, I don't like the idea of him having influence over NHTSA per se, because I think that it's very difficult to have somebody who's in a business influencing how the regulation of that business works. But maybe NHTSA opens things up and therefore he has a greater opportunity to move autopilot and everything ahead faster. The question is, those things and maybe others, does that account for a 30% move in your mind? 30+% move.
Yes, well, it had been very depressed before that. And as you know, we put our research out there. We have our team, Tasha Keeney, Sam Corris, and our price target is $2,600 in 5 years. That research is out there. You can find it. You can look at the model, change anything you want. So autonomous is 90% of that valuation. And we think the probability of autonomous has gone up dramatically. I mean, Waymo's already doing it, and they've broken through a lot of barriers, actually, for Tesla in terms of introducing the concept. Now, Tesla, with 7 million robots on the road already, learning the roads around the United States and the rest of the world. If we have national legislation, we'll be in a very good place.
Cathie, where do you land right now on Bitcoin? You've talked about $500,000 being the price point. I don't know if you changed the time horizon for that, given what's happened. Maybe it's been slower. Maybe now it's speeding up again. What do you think? And what do you think actually drives the price action?
Right. So we have a 2030 target. In our base case, it's around $650,000. In our bull case, it's between $1 and $1.5 million. Now, remember, we were the first public asset manager to gain exposure to Bitcoin in 2015 at $250. And we still, at 90,000, I think we have a long way to go. Why? Well, first of all, we're getting regulatory relief here. And I think that's one of the most important things coming out of this administration. We will get regulatory relief on all kinds of innovation, including healthcare. So the other thing is we're looking at Bitcoin now being viewed as a new asset class. It's not just a global monetary system. It's a new asset class. And what that means is institutions and asset allocators generally are saying, wait a minute, this asset is behaving differently from all of our other assets. We need to include. So I think that's the next big move. And and if you look at years where the Bitcoin has halved and the inflation rate has gone down to 0.9, it's usually had a nice big move. So that's
So still bullish on Tesla and Bitcoin. We'll watch a little bit more of that interview in a second where he asks her about the fund performance itself. But Robin at 34.71, she wants 35, folks. She wants 35. At the end of the day, they're very bullish, Cathie, on some of these winners, but then they sell them, right? And I get that she has to rebalance. That's understandable. It's just sometimes the allocation of those funds go to stocks that I don't fully understand why they're allocating them to. That's the hard part. But granted, I guess that's been ARK's strategy for a long time. It's like take profits and then put it into things that you think are more undervalued. It's just sometimes they do end up selling the winners quick. She still has a decent amount of Palantir left, but I do think some of that Palantir is starting to be trimmed a lot more. Let's call Steve. Let's see if he picks up. He just called me 30 minutes ago. Let's see what he has to say about Palantir. Robinhood really doing a nice job here right here at 34.65. 35 would be big for Hood if we can get there. Hey, Steve, you're on the market open. Good morning.
I actually just threw a meeting on mute real quick to pick up your call.
Okay, so can you talk or no?
I just turned my camera off. I got 1 minute while they're looking for something.
I was just going to add, you texted me some happy thoughts about Palantir being down. So.
I'm a little surprised that it's coming back. I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised. My buddy and I, Chris, were talking, and, you know, maybe I spoke too soon, but I was not surprised when I saw the rug pull. And now I'm even more surprised that it's getting bought up.
Yeah, when you texted me that, I was like, well, I don't know. And now it's, you know, making a little bit of a comeback. So, all right. Well, just wanted your raw reaction. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting day to say the least.
Yeah.
Interesting day. But I will give you a call a little later, and maybe we'll talk a little Palantir.
Okay. Well, also, dude, I'm getting into more dividend stocks now. So we got to talk dividends on the channel. No, seriously. I was talking about dividend. I was talking about ET. I was talking about Dix. They have a 2% dividend. We'll talk about some divvies this week.
You see my article today?
What's your article? On what stock? What article?
On Energy Transfer, ET.
Oh, really? Dude, I swear I was looking at it this weekend. I was looking at that.
Yeah, no, it came out about 9 a.m. and I think the title was Energy Transfer should benefit from the Trump trade and drill, baby, drill.
Wow, Seeking Alpha let you get away with that title.
They let me get away with it, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Anyone can check it out. I'm gonna be reading this, dude. It's
actually a really good article.
All right, we'll talk about it on the show soon.
I'm proud of you. You're moving up in the world. MLPs, I like it.
Yeah, we got.
They're the veins of the country.
We got to try to protect some capital next year. So I think dividends.
Look, 125,000 miles of pipeline. You cannot recreate that infrastructure. Can't recreate it. You and I can go pretty deep on it. I got to go because they found the files and sharing the screen. I got to pay attention. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk later. That's so funny. He wrote an article about ET. I didn't even talk to him over the weekend, but this is a really exciting stock, ET right here. This sucker is big in the energy space. They have a 7% divvy. It's a nice dividend. And year to date, it's up 26%. It's one of the names I've heard about for a while, but I never really pulled the trigger on it. I like it. I like this one. And the covered call premiums aren't too bad either. So ET right here is one of the ones we got to look at a little bit more. Das Brew Crew, thank you for the $10 super chat. Admit I'm about to crack 20,000 in my brokerage, and you had a big part in that. Been there for the past year and a half, watching. Much love, man. Palantir up 150%. Congrats to you, Das. Congrats to cracking 20,000, and congrats on being up 150% on Palantir. Speaking of Palantir, as we can see, Steve is a little upset now that Palantir is making a little bit of a comeback here. I mean, look, it was down 10%. Now it's down 6%. Still a nasty decline, down 6% on the day. But the demand for this stock and the liquidity that is there for this company is just unbelievable. And so, how bad is a 10% dip going to stay? I don't know. Usually 10% is a dip that people buy. That just tends to be in any stock. 10% is a dip you buy. But with Palantir trading at these levels, most people are waiting for 20, 25%. But it seems like people ended up buying it today, down 10%. MicroStrategy's up 6%. Are we at 92 on Bitcoin? We are at 92 on Bitcoin. That's doing great. And that means Hood is at 34.77. All right. 35 potentially on the horizon. Does Target have a dividend? Do they? I think they have a small one. Yeah, they have a dividend as well. 3%. Dude, dividends are cool, bro. Like, I feel like the transition from like being in growth stocks for a year and doing okay on them is then you just want to like preserve some of the money, and dividends is one way to preserve it. Now, granted, it's got to be a good company that still is growing, because if you buy like a stock with a nice dividend, but there's no growth, the capital depreciation alone is going to overpower the dividend yield you get. But still, it's not bad to have some money, just collecting a dividend, selling covered calls on those stocks, getting a little bit of capital appreciation, and protecting some money. Whirlpool, this is Pool, right? This is Pool. This is what Buffett bought. Buffett bought this one, I think. Yeah, they have... Oh, no, this is a different one. Pool Corp is different than Whirlpool. Whirlpool has a 6% dividend, right? Whirlpool... Oh, WHR. Yeah. 6.28% dividend. I got to go deeper into these guys, but yeah, their products are everywhere in regards to laundromats and fridges and all this stuff. So that's important. Just wait until Amit learns about fixed income. Dude, I got to learn about a lot of this shit next year, because the last thing I want to do is take profits and fuck it up, Like 2024 has been the riskiest year of my life financially, and God willing, hopefully end of the year, it turns out okay. But it's time to protect some money, dude. Like, it's been a hell of a year sitting with the fucking portfolio every day, up and down, up and down, up. And that's just like, I don't know, for all of you guys, you feel the same as well, right? A lot of people bet big on growth stocks this year. I'm just like, the biggest thing I'm concerned about is, does 2025 have a repeat? Dan Ives is saying that we're in 1995 to 1999, which means we would be technically in the year 1997 if it's that same time. And that was a great year for the market. This should be a great year for the 2025 should be a great year if earnings compound. But at these valuations, can they continue to compound? Can they actually continue to keep doing this momentum? Amit, when are we getting our next Figure update? Okay, so Figure, this is another startup that I'm invested in, humanoid robotic company. So I think, so Brett Adcock, the founder, he tweeted a picture of their new office. They're leasing this new building where they're going to start manufacturing. I have gotten an update on some numbers that I can't say publicly, but from my understanding, on paper, the valuation is higher than $2 billion. So I invested at $2 billion from the people that I've talked to that are close to the company, that have had meetings with the company. It looks like they should be raising again. I mean, they have to raise because like they're going to be building lots of robots, and they don't have enough money to build the amount of robots that they need to build. So I would imagine a raise is coming soon, and it's at a higher valuation. Now, obviously it's not confirmed. It's all kind of rumors right here, but I think Figure is going to be a big winner in 2025 just off the capital raise. And dude, the demand for robots is insane. And we know this. We know Elon says Optimus can be a $30 trillion company. If Optimus is 30 trillion alone outside of FSD, autonomy, and the vehicles, then Figure is going to be just beneath them, when it comes to market cap penetration and overall growth. So I think it'll be a good year for Figure. I think they will massively expand the valuation. $2 billion to me is a joke considering their potential. And I'm really grateful I got in at that $2 billion valuation, but I think this thing is going to be much higher in 2025. But it depends on when they raise and if they raise. So I think we're not going to get an update until they raise another round, but it might take a few months until that happens. Will you continue to invest in Figure? Probably not. I mean, maybe like sequential funding rounds will definitely dilute your shares. Yeah, I mean, I will get diluted, but at the end of the day, dude, I really think I caught the bottom from as much as the bottom could be at 2 billion. Like I think this thing's headed to like multi-hundreds of billions, if not trillions over the next decade. So I don't know if I'm going to need to necessarily have a bigger stake, because the stake I have, even with dilution, should do very well over the next decade. I mean, there's already offers coming in to buy Figure shares, but they're offering like 5x the price from the Series B round. And that's too low. Like, I mean, I think we're going to be much higher than 5x. So people already want shares. The demand is there. The question is now what they raise at. And, if they raise heavy, that's going to be important. Google right here up 1%. And the thing is, if Figure raises at like a crazy valuation next year, that means Optimus, the street's going to have to stop denying the value of Optimus. Because right now they are putting none of this 347, not a single cent of this 347 on Tesla is dedicated to Optimus. And if Elon, I said this last week, if Elon announces a letter of intent from Walmart to buy 10,000 robots of Optimus, I think the street's going to have to really question what they're going to do with Tesla, because they can't just keep saying that it's a car company. It's now a robotics company that is building the next evolution of labor. And what multiple do you put on that? What market cap do you associate with that? What price to earnings do you put on that? I don't know. But the street's going to have to figure that out, because it's not going to be easy to just ignore that type of growth that they're going to have. That's another reason I want to buy Tesla. I think, dude, if I'm in Figure and I think they're going to win in robots, I think Tesla's definitely going to win in robots. And so that's another reason why buying Tesla is exciting. Also, even if you're buying Tesla at these levels, I do think, obviously I would like it more at 290, 300, but the covered calls that you can sell against them if you're assigned, there's always call buyers for Tesla. Like, that's the best thing about Tesla. There's always call buyers. So like there's always put buyers as well, because people don't believe the run is going to last. But like as a wheeling stock, it's just one of the perfect stocks to wheel, because you've got both sides of the market that are super active when it comes to buying or selling puts and calls. 3480 on Hood. We hit 3485. I really think she wants 35 today. Let's see. I really think they want 35 today. I think it's possible. When will you get into Rocket Lab? Probably 2025 as well. I'll be selling puts on that one. The covered call premiums on Rocket Lab are ridiculous as well. It's amazing. I don't want to buy it at $19 though. But yeah, my put price will be 15 or 16 if that's still appropriate by 2025. And then Rocket Lab's on the list. So here's the stocks I'm thinking of 2025. Rocket Lab is on the list. Tesla is on the list. Amazon is on the list. And then SoFi with selling puts will be on the list as well, just because I think the put premiums are always decent on SoFi. So those four names are there. And then when it comes to dividend stocks, Verizon is on the list. ET is on the list. The stock, what was another one we were, Kinder Morgan, KMI, that one's on the list. So I will make a big list of names I'm looking forward to in 2025, and then we'll do an episode towards the end of the year. And we can crowdsource it. I can see what names you guys are looking at as well. But I think the strategy has to be a mix of growth, a mix of crypto, and a mix of defensive names. Because I don't think anyone's smart enough to think that 2025 is going to be like 2024. And if it's not, then there's got to be some protection. And that protection has to be from some of the defensive names. Why Amazon? I just think Amazon is one of the most diversified Max 7s. Also, Google's on that list. Google is on that list because Google's valuation right here is stupid when you look at the numbers, even though, yes, there is the threat of search, but as like a safe stock to hold on to, then maybe doesn't get disrupted overnight. It might take a while for that to get disrupted. I think Google is a decent candidate. I think Amazon is the most diversified out of the Max 7 with AWS advertising and the retail business. Their operating margins are going up. I don't think operating margins are going to go down. If we get into a recession, Amazon's going to get hit because people are going to stop buying stuff. But if operating margins go closer to 12, 13% next year, like Amazon's going to be 250 because that's an additional $100 billion or close to $100 billion of net income that they're going to get if they just increase operating margins. But that is going to be the story of Amazon ultimately if they can do that. Sven Jerabika. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but thank you for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate it. Sven Jerabika. What's the nationality on this name? This feels European. Sven. I might be totally off here, but it kind of feels like Lithuanian if I'm not wrong. But thank you for becoming a channel member. Really appreciate it. And MCGH, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate that as well. Thank you for the $5 super chat and being here in the chat. Did you see what Salesforce CEO said about Gemini? Yeah, Salesforce Mark Benioff super excited about Gemini. He tweeted something about it. I feel like Sundar asked him to tweet about this. But he was excited. He just said Gemini is an amazing model, and it looks like Salesforce and Google probably will be collaborating together. Croatian. Okay, Croatian. You know, I've been to Croatia. I've been to Zagreb. Love Croatia. It's an amazing, beautiful, beautiful city. Andreas, I'm assuming you're Lithuanian. If you said that's not Lithuanian. Got to go back to Croatia one day. Steven says, Amit, bro, preserve, just buy Bitcoin left and right. It is the best performing asset. How can anything else be attractive? Fuck dividends. So, Steven, I personally don't have the risk appetite that you have. I want to actually preserve my capital. And, you know, Bitcoin probably is going to outperform, but I don't have the stomach to just go all in on Bitcoin. That's not me. Can't do that. So for those that can do that, bless your heart. That's amazing. It's worked out well with MicroStrategy. But you know, it's funny. Adam, again, we were talking over dinner, and Adam, he made some pretty leveraged bets on Bitcoin related stocks this year. And he's, you know, they've paid off, right? And he's taken a lot of profits. And now he has no desire to get back into any crypto. Like he just like when you make millions of dollars, I'm not saying I'm doing that, but I'm just saying in general, like when you make a lot of money, you want to preserve it. And it takes a little return on a lot of money to live a normal life. You make 5% on $1 million, you're not that upset. Whereas if you're making 5% on 100,000, right, it's not really big money. So when you have, and I'm sure people in the chat can relate, when you have, you know, 7 figures in your portfolio, your goal is to make sure that shit doesn't go away. And some of the volatility of being invested in Bitcoin and just hoping that goes up, which it probably will, but just, you know, assuming it's just going to keep going up, it's hard to live with that volatility, especially if you have a wife, kids, family, right? Like Adam does. You kind of want to be a little bit more responsible right there. 92,347 on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin breaking above 92. Where's Hood? Hood, I think is going to try 3480. Still try. Oh, wow. We hit 3492. We are trying for that 35 level on Hood. Now, Hood is something I can hold over the next 10 years because there's a crypto tailwind, but it's a real business. So that I have no problem holding on to. And I would love to get to like 10,000 shares of Robinhood and like just have it as a core position because I can actually understand what I'm owning. And I know that crypto is a catalyst, but it's not just Bitcoin itself, which is hard to sleep at night. It's just hard to sleep at night with stuff happening like that. Imagine your 7-figure portfolio down 10% overnight and then you're down 100,000. Yeah, dude, it's tough. When you're down a lot of money or when you're down a small percentage on a lot of money, it turns out like you're down hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not fun, bro. That is not fun. Martin says, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank only talks about capital preservation, not great advice as you are young. Yeah, I mean, and look, I am taking risks with my portfolio, obviously with Robinhood, Palantir. Those are risky parts of the portfolio. But it would be nice to be able to protect a decent part of it. Also, the other thing is just like, I want to sell covered calls on all these names. And I think selling covered calls generates that extra 1 or 2% that you're looking for in a safer way, you know? So that's kind of the goal next year. Also, I mean, I still have a lot of leaps, dude. I'm going to exit a ton of leaps in 2025, but Robinhood, I have $37, $40 debit spreads, and I have freaking SoFi options. So we still have a part of the portfolio that is going to be in options because they just don't expire for another 2 years. And that part will still be volatile. Will you be discussing Grab with Chris on the market close? No, Chris and I will probably do a dedicated stream to Grab probably later this week. Not on the market close, but later this week we will definitely do a dedicated stream to that. Can you explain covered calls? Yeah, in a really simple way. Covered calls are you have 100 shares of a stock and you sell a call against it, which means someone's buying a share. So if I have 100 shares of SoFi at 14, someone who's buying a call for December 20th for SoFi to be at 15, I am selling them that call. I need to use my 100 shares to collateralize that call because a call is the right to control 100 shares. I get a premium, aka what the person is buying the call for when I sell the call, and I keep that premium if SoFi stays below the strike price, aka 15. If it's above the strike price, I have to sell the shares at 15. The downside is if SoFi goes to 20 and you sell it at 15, you're missing out on $5. The upside is if you're selling those shares, you get a gain. If your average is 14 and you get to keep the premium. So in a nutshell, that is what a covered call is. And obviously you can get a lot of benefits from it if you're doing it on tons of shares. MicroStrategy at 370 up 9%. So MicroStrategy really trying to break out. If MicroStrategy hits 400, that would be incredible. Amazon right here at 203. Coinbase up 3% as well. Tesla still holding on 8% of the day. Where is Palantir? Palantir is 61.57. So Palantir is still recovering, even though it's down about 7% right now. Martin said that was the worst explanation ever, only because you talk so fast. I'm sorry. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about covered calls, but if you just type in Amit covered calls on YouTube, you'll find the episode I made with TJ, and we talked about it for an hour. So that'll give you a lot more to dive into when it comes to covered calls. All right, 34.90. Here we go. This is the stretch, folks. 10 cents. 10 cents, 10 cents to get to that 35. Let me see resistance. I still think we're at like 170,000 shares at 35. Yeah, 161,000. All right. So if we break 35, 161,000, that is bullish because then I think we're holding 35. If you can break that big of a wall, even if we dip back to like 34.50, I think we're coming right back to 35 either today or tomorrow. But we got to break it. We got to break it. So the bell is ready. We got to break it. Let's see if we can. Are the batteries in the bell charged up? They are indeed charged up. I have to head out. Hims is up 12%. Have to celebrate the wifey. Congrats, Shamu. Congrats on the dip. And we'll see you later. Thanks for being here today, sure. 34.95. 34.95. All right, we got 5 cents left. Let's see if that can get there. 34.94. Hood is breaking out, ascending triangle building. Yup, I agree. Where's the volume? Where's the volume? The volume is 14 million shares. 14 million shares. Okay, 14 million shares is not bad. 14 million shares is not bad. Bro didn't get the joke. What joke? When Chamu said I have to celebrate with the wifey because hymns. I get it. All right, Chamu, if you're still here, I get the joke. Thank you for being here. Have fun with the wifey. As hymns went higher. Dude, sometimes it takes me a second, bro. It takes me a second sometimes. Is there still a way to invest in Figure? There's some ARK funds that you can invest in Figure. Also, there's a platform called Hive, Hiive. I put in the chat. They sell secondary shares. Obviously, they sell it at a higher price, but you can get direct shares on that platform. But the ARK Venture Fund has some Figure as well. So that is one way to get exposure. But like direct exposure through an SPV, I think is harder now since they raised already 10 months ago. All right, Robin, trying to get to that 35 range. It's going to be tough. We got a lot of shares holding on there, but if we get there, it would not be too bad. 35 would be very bullish. Very, very bullish. What's your take on Affirm? I like Affirm a lot. I like their management. I like founder-led CEO. Rates coming down are a catalyst for them. Why are they up 10%? I have no idea. Why is Affirm up 10%? Is there anything specific on Affirm? I have no idea why that's happening. Affirm, it's just a breakout. They've reported, they said Affirm has reported that growth in its active customers accelerated for a third quarter straight to nearly 20 million. Oh, they raised the price target. So Barclays raised them to 64. That's why Affirm is up right now. Okay, that makes sense. So you got a little bit of a technical breakout, and then you've got an upgrade. Yeah, look at this chart, dude. Bottomed at 51 in November 15th. Now it's 62. Not bad. Robinhood trying to do 35. It's real. Look at the Robinhood chart. It's really trying from this morning. It's trying. But you're going to have some sellers in those high 34 ranges. SoFi 14.13. HIMS is up 12%. Nice recovery there. Apple's up 2% today. Shopify's down 1%. Grindr up 3%. Q's back above 500. Look at that. Q's back above 500. That is incredible. So the Qs are doing okay. I'm not buying Oklo. Don't understand it fully yet. I do think there's a tailwind in the Trump administration. But I think I would need to see some more backlog of deals for us to get excited about Oklo. But Oklo's up 12% right here on the day. Target's up 2%. Where's Walmart? Walmart is earnings tomorrow. Walmart is up about 0.5% right now as well. Doug says Palantir is headed back to 62. Look at that, bro. Holy crap. Palantir, it's like it was down 10%. The good thing is it can't be shorted tomorrow because once you're down 10%, you can't be shorted the next day. That's an SEC rule. Dude, if it goes back to 62, that would be incredible. That's pretty damn incredible if we get there. Yeah, dude, that's pretty amazing, dude. Making all the way back to Steve is raging. Steve is definitely upset right now. Steve spoke too quick. All right, Robin is getting a red candle. They're not letting her get to 2035 yet. They're not letting her get to 35 yet. Close above 34.50, I'd be happy with, but I think potential 35 is in there. Bitcoin as well just fell a little bit, 92.3 to 92. That's what Bitcoin's down. Then you got a hood at 34.68. Palantir back at 62. Back at 62. She is not going down without a fight. Not going down without a fight at all. Even Sound and Serve Robotics are green. Yeah. These Serve had, decent earnings last week, but they got hit. Serve is slightly down. SoundHound is slightly up a little bit. All right, so overall green market today, folks. Most stocks doing okay. You got some that are lagging a little bit. Rock Lab also up 2.4%. Airbnb is kind of flat. Shopify's down a little bit. SMCI up 13%. Netflix, people thought they would be down. Oh, what did you guys think about Paulson versus or Paul versus Tyson? What did you guys think about that? I thought it was an interesting fight. We did get to see Mike Tyson's 58-year-old cheeks on live TV, which was a sight to behold. 8:39 on Netflix. Netflix is up, although Netflix had some server issues. Netflix was up. So market feels that Netflix is a big winner here as it goes higher. Archer is up 7.5%. That's not bad. The female fight was better. I agree. The female fight was better. I'm just happy Tyson gave it his best, and he almost died 8 months ago, he said. So the fact that he stepped in the ring is kind of crazy at this age, but he did it, and he didn't really care. It did feel like a money grab though, dude. It really did feel like they both knew they would make a lot of money, and they did. So Netflix ends up being the big winner here. It was reported 90 million people watched it, which is wild. Tesla right here at 345 currently as well. IDK who won, but my Netflix is still buffering. Dude, my Netflix was fine. I'm surprised a lot of people had a tough time with Netflix. Mine was good, but yeah, other people did have some hits. $20 million though is not bad, dude. I don't care how old you are. 20 million is not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, let's end up the show with that final take by Cathie. She's talking a little bit about her fund and the volatility around it. So let's listen to that a little bit. And then we will end out today for the stream. All right, here we go.
The ETF fund had lost $14.3 billion of shareholder value, which is an enormous amount of money. I don't think it's the same today. It's better than that. But why should people listen to you? By the way, the author gave us a hard time for even doing interviews with you.
So it's so interesting that we cannot fire our clients. And I would say we're at the flip side today of where we were in the late 2021 period. We were saying back then, hold some powder dry. That didn't happen. Flows just gushed in. Today, we're in the opposite situation. We've been great on Tesla, Bitcoin, Nvidia at 40 cents was our first purchase, first 40 cents. We're pounding the table on that. And now we want to go after healthcare. CRISPR.
They did sell a ton of Nvidia at $12 though, by the way. Just they sold a lot in October 2022.
Gene editing. If you look at JD Vance, Elon Musk, they're all talking about this new wave of cures ahead. So stay tuned.
But how should we think about the volatility of your fund and some of these big bets and the way you're making them? I ask because, as I mentioned, there was a period of time, obviously 2020, that ETF blew up in the, your ETF blew up in the best way possible, right? It was up 150% or something. But then, of course, if you look at a longer term chart, it's a lot more complicated. And so for those folks who watch us and are, I'll ask you questions and they're listening to your answers intently, what are they supposed to think?
Two things. We have a volatile fund. We should not be a huge slice of any portfolio. We are more of a satellite strategy now, although we think this is the way the world is going. Second, if you take out that boom bust in around COVID, which caused all kinds of interesting behaviors, you will look at, for the flagship, you'll see a fund that has based for 6 years. The technologies around which we have centered our research are so much more advanced. And so we think we're a very good complement to the broad-based benchmarks out there because we don't look anything like them. And truth will win out. The biggest depressant on the fund recently has been in the multi-omics, healthcare, life sciences space. We think that's going to change, and it's going to change quickly when it does because the rubber band is stretching. We're now seeing companies like CRISPR Therapeutics, Intellia, on the road to curing diseases, which is a very different model from traditional pharma.
Cathie Wood, we very much appreciate talking.
So again, her argument is, hey, you don't need to own a lot of us, which is how she justifies the stock being down. ARK being down in a pretty, I think it's up a little bit now year to date. Yeah, it's up 3% right here. So ARK is starting to gain some momentum, but obviously this year has not been the best for them, even though it's been good for the market. Her strategy is, hey, if you invest in us, don't invest a lot of money in us, essentially, keep us as a small part of our portfolio, but also that genomics is the future. And that's where ARK thinks they're going to get a lot of differentiated exposure. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So far, the market doesn't care about genomics, but maybe ARK's early and that's kind of why they're loading up on it. Robin at 34.81, maybe gets to 35 later today. It is definitely trying. Affirm 62, up 11% today. Palantir right back to $62, folks. Palantir is not going down without a fight. 62.24, now down 5% on the day after being down 10%. Just absolutely amazing and incredible price action. And then you got Tesla right here as well, benefiting, up about 7.48% on the day. There you go. All right, that's it for me, folks. We will be back on the market close. Nothing too crazy with earnings today. Tomorrow, we're going to have a lot more earnings, but Wednesday is going to be the big day with Nvidia earnings after the bell. So Nvidia, Snowflake, and Palo Alto on Wednesday. Nvidia going to be the big one. That's going to kind of determine kind of how the rest of the next 2 months goes to end out this year. But we're getting close to December and getting close to the end of the year. So it does feel like this market potentially has some legs to maintain momentum. Word of the day. Let's do word of the day, and then we are done for now. And then, yeah, we'll be back for the market close. Word of the day is prehensile.
Prehensile.
Adapted for seizing, grasping, or taking hold of something. The elephant used its prehensile trunk to pick bananas from the tree. The monkey used its prehensile tail to grip the branches and swing through the trees. Adapted for seizing, grasping, or taking hold of something. Okay. Don't really have a sentence for this one, but if you need to take a hold of something, I guess you are using a prehensile. Let's see if we can get there. That's a weird one. That's an interesting one today. But that's why we do the word of the day every single day. All right, that's it. Robin, is it at 34.9? Do we have to stay for Robinhood? Do we have to stay? Oh, we're at 35. Holy crap. No one said anything. Wow, here we go, folks. 35 on Robinhood. Wow. I guess Robinhood likes the word of the day, huh? Robinhood is using Robinhood is being, I'm trying to use prehensile in a way. Robinhood is taking prehensile control of 35. That makes no sense, but I mean to say it's grabbing 35. There you go. Not bad. Dude, no one, I feel like it happened so quick. The chat you guys couldn't even say it in the chat because while I was reading the word of the day, it just busted through 35. That's bullish. So why is this bullish? Because that was 170,000 shares Robinhood had to break through to get to 35. That's not easy. That means there was a ton of buying pressure right there. Now there's no wall at 35. We could still get below 35, but the fact that 160,000 shares were eaten up at 35 means that people are ready to buy it. That is super, super bullish. Super exciting for Robinhood. All right, not bad. 35.09. I mean, a close above 35 today would be super bullish. 34.50 would still be good, but Robinhood 35 doing very, very well, maintaining momentum, up now almost 8.6% currently on the day. S&P, as we ended out, S&P is green. S&P also trying to get back to 590. Look at that. Q's 501. Again, we had a dip on Friday. Now it's trying to get some momentum. Palantir 6208, still down 5.6%. S&P again right here at 588. Tesla at 344. Robin at 35.14. Now really breaking above 35, trying to maintain holding there. Tesla 344, Palantir 6209, S&P 500 at 588, up 0.47% on the day. All right, not bad. Our hood spreads are now in the money, correct? Yep, those hood spreads are now in the money. All right, good stuff. I will see you guys at 3:45 on the market close, and we'll be back to close out the markets. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.